not much experience doing this.
Cool. Oh, it's got a countdown, 23 minutes. Oh, it's at 11. I thought it said 10:30 on ours.
No, it starts 10:30.
Oh, okay, cool.
We're at Talking Heads. Hey, where's your head? I need your head.
Manual mode. Oh wow, my mic quality is 1,000 times better.
What do you mean your quality?
I'm not using my laptop microphone anymore.
Okay, we are live. I'm pretty sure.
I hear myself.
Nice. Yeah, Joao saying we're live right now. Awesome. So we started a few minutes early, just to introduce Matt again. So last week, Matt, can we see your face? Did you plan for that, bud? Maybe it went left and got water.
Yes. Did I brush my teeth today? Probably not. No, I'm kidding. I did. Maybe. There we go.
Look at you.
I got a shirt on today. That's an upgrade from yesterday.
So Matt, walk us through what we did last week.
Yeah. So last week was fun. We kind of went through, uh, you know, having a person with architectural background kind of do a site plan by hand. So creating all these offsets, creating the site, creating the units, and kind of plugging them in with parking and everything. So kind of seeing how long that would take versus kind of doing that within TestFit. So I think for people that had saw it last week or saw the replay of it, the difference was quite large. I think it took me about 2 hours, and that was kind of working through everything, getting unit size and everything correct. And I think we ended up doing it in TestFit between like 5 and 8 minutes with all adjustments. So it was pretty nice.
It's
It was
almost
fun
like
though.
if you build a tool for the job, you can do it a lot faster.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that's true.
So watching Matt do it last week made me kind of jealous. As I absolutely love site planning. This is Peter Bartosh. He'll be our first commentator. Um, Matt, meet Peter. Peter, how you doing?
Doing well. How you doing?
Good, man.
Hey, Peter. Oh, he's got a
Hey,
nice
what's going on,
background.
man?
I gotta work on my aesthetics of my view over here.
I got like books and stuff. I was thinking about that. I was like, man, people are gonna think we're really unprofessional working from home.
I was gonna stack up toilet paper and paper towels in the back to show my stockpile if anybody was interested.
The FBI would like to know your location.
Right?
I was kind of forced to this one little square foot corner of our apartment. My wife and I live in like 600 square feet here in Boston, so
Oh yeah.
she's got the other 550, and this is my little space now.
So, Peter, what's your background? Give us a little introduction to you.
Sure. So I'm a licensed architect. I've been on the architecture side of the business for about 10 years now. Spent good 7.5 to 8 of those years doing conceptual design, master planning, site studies for projects all throughout the U.S. and have since transitioned over to the development side of the business, starting back in April of 2018. But I'm happy to be here now that we've been talking for quite a while about TestFit, and I've been excited to watch you guys grow over the last few years here.
Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed our discussions at length, and I remember it was like within the first couple months of me being doing TestFit full time, talked with Peter, and I was like in a Starbucks and we talked for like 3 hours on the phone. Do you remember
Yeah, I do remember that.
that? we were talking. I think you were doing like a really interesting crowdfunding thing where you could get people that normally couldn't invest in real estate could.
Yeah, at the time we were basically, where the area I live in Boston is sort of always been an immigrant community, and a lot of the folks who live here were getting displaced at the time. This is maybe in 2017, and we were looking at ways to start to create broader community engagement and give folks an opportunity to invest in all of the development and investment activity they were seeing around them, to sort of participate in the change rather than just being pushed out by it.
It's awesome, man. Um, well, so the topic of discussion today is man versus machine.
Okay.
What we're gonna do is I'm gonna actually do a test fit in AutoCAD using what I would consider a traditional method. We'll probably do that for about 3 hours. I think it might take 3 hours. I'm gonna try to actually create PDFs and stuff that you would send to a client. Um, but we're kind of curious about the nature of work over here, TestFit. So, every click that you make is something that will take you longer to get a specific task done. So I'm going to be very conscious about the kind of clicks that I'm making, and the sort of, I don't know, the effort that's going into the manual drawing. And Peter and Matt, feel free to provide color commentary or really whatever you want to
Okay.
provide. Can you see my screen?
Sure can.
Okay.
That's some nice AutoCAD right there.
Yeah, so what I didn't do last week was I didn't switch the scene. So now on the live stream, people should be able to see CAD. Maybe we can scale that up a little bit. So what I had Matt do was find a site in the Dallas area that we could do, and so I'll fire that up real quick. So I guess we can start our clock now. But do geolocate first from a map, and I'm not sure if it pops up on the live stream, but this is AutoCAD's latitude, longitude coordinates.
Yep, we're getting it all.
Drop marker. Next. I never know which one to pick, so I'm just going to pick the first one on that. All right. So this was the site, and then the program. And I guess I could flip back to show you guys what the program looks like. Go Chrome. Talking Heads. Okay. So 4-story wood product, 5-story parking garage, unit mix, 20% studios, 45% one beds, 35% two beds. We're looking for 330 units, a unit average of 950 square feet, 3,500 square foot lobby, 4,000 square foot amenity space within the courtyard, single loaded double height space. Very specific, Matt. 1,500 square foot amenity space on the floor looking tollway. So, Peter, what are your thoughts? How quickly, if I just rattle off that program to you, how quickly do you think you could get that done using? I think you're a ArchiCAD guy.
MicroStation guy.
MicroStation.
Yeah. If I had that statement in front of me and I were just looking at this site broadly, I could probably get to a basic conclusion in maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And from there, cleaning it up, creating the graphics, getting all of the data in places, maybe about another 45 minutes to 90 minutes or so. So I think end to end, you're probably looking at about an hour to an hour and a half, clicking send on the email to the client and then waiting for feedback.
Hour and a half. Pretty good, man. So obviously something that we should talk a little bit about is like the value of having blocks and, stuff that's already been built before you start the actual process of drawing out the site plans. Do you rely on just simply drafting everything, or do you use other tools inside the program to get the work done more quickly?
Well, there's sort of a two-part answer to that question. The first is, whether or not you're just looking to identify max density and not really thinking critically about, any sort of site-specific design elements. And in this site's pretty regular, so it makes it a little easier to lay things out. Um, and the other piece of it is whether or not you're really trying to think about the branding of the eventual end product in as early as now, and whether or not that comes through and how you plan the site. And for the most part, I'm pretty much just drafting things from scratch. I've sort of toyed with both ways and found that just taking a clean slate approach is usually the quickest for me. Uh, what I think, if I had to guess and sort of look ahead at where the differences are really going to lie in using kind of TestFit versus doing this manually, it's, you know you're never sort of one and done on these. There are always multiple iterations, and when you start getting into tracking iterations and updating the data and trying to really measure and manage all of the sort of evolution of these plans over time, that's where you really start to lose efficiency, or at least I start to lose efficiency, because I've got to go back and recalculate everything, 30 different times.
So, I think what you're saying is the iterations are the things that kill you. Like, you send out the first thing to the client, and then they say, "Oh, actually, we decide the unit average needs to be X. Can you please change it all?"
Yeah, yeah. Or they decide, what, hey, they ask a question. We're always planning with certain assumptions in mind, like, okay, we're going to be assuming the deck is precast, or we assume that it's steel, or, I mean, these little micro assumptions can have a massive impact on the overall plan. And even small changes in construction type or unit mix or unit size averaging. I mean, if the client comes back and says, "Hey, we actually want to drop the unit average by 75 square feet per unit," I mean, we can quickly run the math and say, "All right, well, with this footprint, now your yield is X," but that footprint may not be the most efficient once you start to drop that unit sizing, and so you'll end up needing to address that later on, when you start to get into construction pricing and realizing that the building is just not as efficient as it could be. So, sort of maintaining that optimum footprint balance to the program statement as things have changed. You're absolutely right. That's where you really start to lose efficiency.
So do you guys see Excel what I'm working on right now?
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm just taking. I'm gonna do a lot of math first. I'm gonna do a lot of planning before I actually start doing the drawing, because that'll save me some time. Um, and so I would just sort of guess and check on my unit averages, because the subcategories weren't provided, and then these are the weights. So I'm going to try to get 66 studios, 148 one beds, and 115 two beds. So Peter, when do you start the math? Like, do you start the math immediately, or do you just dive
Yeah.
right into drawing?
No, I do exactly what you're doing. You figure out that you assume an average unit depth of 29 and a half feet typically, and then run right through this calculation, end up with a total. You can quickly figure out how long the building would need to be if it were one story, right, and fit all of these units in it, and start to divide it based on number of floors and come up with a general floor plate size that you need. And then taking that framework and applying that framework to the site is pretty quick.
Yep. I'm not sure if I want to do 29 and a half in this submarket. This is Addison, or wait, this is Frisco?
It'd be Plano. So this is like that Legacy West development.
Maybe 28? Maybe I'll start with 28. Because 45-foot wide B units are going to be killer, though. I'll stick with 28. Okay, so I need studio is going to be 23 feet by 28 feet. One beds are going to be 30. I mean, this live stream is not super glorious entertainment. It's actually very boring, and it's very intentionally boring because, like, this is the nature of work, right? This is what we do, and every single step in the process takes time if you're doing it right.
I don't know about you, but every time you kind of clean up these numbers and you hit enter on something like right there, I mean, I get excited about Excel, so this is good for me.
I totally agree. You're like, yes, that is the right unit width. That totally
Yeah.
works for me. I love it.
Like, the thing is, my unit, just by rationalizing this geometry, now if I redo my calculations, it's going to be different. So equal round down. I didn't round down. Equal 23 times 8. So I wanted 650, and now I have 644. So that's going to be a problem down the road. So I might want to adjust my unit balances a little bit if I want to hit that. So I want to hit the mix percentages perfectly on the nose, and then I want to hit the unit average perfectly on the nose. So I'm pretty close, within like 4 square feet of each. This shouldn't be that bad. My larger outside corner and inside corner units should be enough to tilt this in the right direction. Okay. So doing some planning, 330 units, plus, okay, 4 levels. So now I can do some more work, right? So I can say, floor level 1 is going to need, on average, how many of these? So equal that number divided by 4. And that's where I hate this process a little bit, because good luck getting 16 and a half units in one floor. Can't do a half unit. But this is my roadmap. So this is what I'll design the typical floor on. We'll draw it using blocks, and then we'll check our math later. Let's just flip over to CAD. I'm going to leave this on my second screen, which it's going to make the process so much faster. Matt.
Oh, yeah. One screen is rough, man.
It just goes to, you end up realizing how bad your short-term memory is.
Oh, yeah. You tab out and you're like, wait, what size was that unit I just looked at for 10 minutes?
Yeah. 38 by how many feet? Oh, I got to go back. Oh.
See, I'm not even starting with any layers. This is going to be... All right, I'm just going to do this. We'll do red is light, yellow is darker. I'll use blocks to organize things instead of layers in this. All right, that should be good enough. Basically doing the same thing Matt was doing. Why is layer 4 wrong? Line weights are going to be really important. Well, I guess it's wrong. Okay, so now I need to get my setbacks. Offset 20 feet, Matt.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And I'm in engineering. Great. Offset 20 feet. Okay. And that should be enough of that for the moment. No, I just want to turn it off. Okay. All right. Garage is going to be a big problem on this guy. And I want to orient that garage against the highway. I don't know if you guys saw, there's a massive highway on the back end of this guy. So you can see how people are trying to line the highway with parking, which is why most people just think that Texas is full of parking garages, because they only see it from the highway.
Yeah,
Which makes sense.
On a side note, I'm not a fan of that. I love looking at highways. So that whole Legacy West development, I wish they actually lined garages, not garages, units along that, looking into the highway.
Does like would Carla feel the same way?
I don't know, but like whenever Chicago was first developed, the river was an ugly thing to look at. So they put solid walls all along that riverside. And now that it's grown, people start to like the river. Now they're changing the way that they do the developments over there because, of course, the river is actually a feature. So you can look at kind of the highway as the same thing, in my opinion. It's cool to look at. You see all the people traveling and whatnot in and out of the city. So they just kind of blocked it off with Legacy West with pure parking garages. I don't like it.
Peter, what are your thoughts on viewing motorways as a benefit to your real estate development deal?
It's cool, man.
I mean, I definitely I have some images burned in my brain, for being up in tall buildings in and around Boston around rush hour and watching the traffic kind of stack up in and out of the city and seeing the lights and seeing people kind of moving. There's something interesting about it. I think that also if I was just looking at this aerial briefly when you had it up, and um, there's some other things to think about here on this site too. I mean, I don't know what that use is up north of the site or south of the site, but it looks like there might be some other ways to skin this cat than just automatically throwing the deck against the highway.
Hey, it's a live stream. I don't have that many design decisions I'm going to make. All right, so I'm just drafting out a parking garage. It's literally my least favorite thing to do in the history of the entire world is drawing parking. I like to mirror things. It's like copy, but you can transpose at the same time. Actually feels pretty good to draft. It's been a while.
Yeah, it was fun doing it last week because it had been a little bit.
So I'm trying to find right now mirror midpoint between this point and that point. All right, that's about as efficient as I can make a garage. I'll flip back to Excel real quick. All right, so one ramp only, no side, smaller ramps. So if I do 11.5 feet equal that divided by 0.065, I need 176 feet of ramp, 177 feet. Oh, so Peter, Matt he's the first designer that we've hired at TestFit.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so he's new. I don't know if you guys have met yet. But Matt comes from multifamily world. He's going to take over. He's taking over for me.
Are you in Chicago too?
No, I'm based in Dallas. I just went to Chicago and I liked it a lot on that. Oh, I liked it. I went in September, so it was nice. I would not go after September or before March.
I mean, I don't know that you really have an option to go right now, but
That's true. That is true. There are cheap flights right now.
well, that's great. Well, no, it's great to meet you.
Yeah, man. No, for sure. No, it's been fun being here. Yeah, no complaints so far. Been a fun experience for sure.
Bit different
Clifton,
than. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask if Clifton makes you battle a machine every week in order to get paid.
All right. No, but it was the first time we did it last week. And it was kind of like a trial by fire. It's like, hey, we're doing this right now. Let's go. It's like, oh, sweet, awesome, and we're live streaming it. Oh, even better. No, it was great though. It was a lot of fun.
Well, so our director of customer success, Caroline, she for almost a year has been like, hey, we should try to figure out how much faster we are than CAD. And I was like, well, what's the point? Like, I already know we're faster, All right, so this slope, I'm just going to marry it up there, and then we're going to go 180 feet. And Oh, am I still on Excel? Oh yeah.
Yep.
All right, I got to remind me to flip screens, because it doesn't do it automatically. Okay. So on a typical level, we'll get 109 parking stalls, and we need. What's our target ratio, Matt? That's not on here.
It was like just a little over 1.5 between
1.5.
all of them. Yeah.
So equal that one. I'm in Excel, just multiplying 1.5 by 330. So we need 495 stalls.
Mm-hmm.
So this needs to be. Hey, we're perfect because we're gonna do five levels. Right. So create. Get layer 0. Create parking garage. Okay. All right. So this is another thing. Now I got to orient the garage in a way that works, and then now I'm gonna see kind of where I'm at in this site. So I don't know. People get off, go through the light, and then I guess they could enter the garage from here. That'd work. Map off. It's been literally 2 years since I've done this. All right. Draw my spines where I think I'm going to put things. So I guess I'll do massing around, hold the edge of the property, and then we'll divide here, maybe there. So we'll do like a double donut. I think that'll work. Any thoughts on a better design here, guys? No? Okay.
You already know my thought about garages facing the highway, but
Well, that's what you get these units down here for, the ones that are near the intersection.
gotcha.
So I'm gonna give myself a foot of variance. I found that to be helpful from setbacks. Just in the long run, it's better for how you're doing it. Yeah. All right. And now it's time to do massing, which is fun. It's a lot of fun, guys. Sign me up. So how's the weather? How's the coronavirus weather in Boston?
It has been raining for what's today? What is today? Thursday? It's been raining for 4 days, so it's
Oh,
it's not bad.
I
I don't feel like I'm missing much.
I think most of society is just like our clocks are all wrong, you know.
yeah. There's no way it's Thursday right now. By the way, what just happened?
Yeah, what just happened? It reminds I feel like all of society right now is in architecture school. They're in studio.
Yeah, just locked inside, missing everything.
For
Yep.
real.
All right, I'm gonna have to clean this stuff up going around the garage. Hopefully, people aren't super bored on this live stream. But hey,
I think
it's a live stream. Then there's nothing to do. So, what else is going on out there?
I was just gonna say, just sort of looking at this right now and thinking about this for a second. So, going back to the sort of context really quickly, and I think that's one thing that I know that I'm gonna have to jump here in a few minutes, but um, one of the questions I remember we talked about early on is the idea that with the context, if you're just laying down a fit plan or sort of taking an algorithmic approach to planning the site,
Yeah.
how are you thinking critically about what the narrative is? And if this is obviously a hypothetical, and I don't know how sensitive, the folks in this community to the east would be toward this type of project, but the massing that's getting proposed just in even this sort of basic diagram on the site is the idea that you're going to have what looks like it's probably 350 or 400 feet of building at 4 stories up against the edge of that secondary street across from that existing residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there's definitely going to be shadow impacts there, right? I mean, the by the time you start to fenestrate that facade and try to break it down visually, I mean, you're going to lose a lot of efficiency and add a lot of cost. So I just, I would automatically be thinking right now, okay, how do we start to plan the site in such a way that softens that edge a little bit and starts to improve that experience? Um, because I know that's a factor that's going to come up in the approvals process, or at least up here. If we're going through this type of project up here, that's the sort of questioning that we'd be facing. So, I mean, that's just right off the bat. That's just one thing that jumps out at me looking at this. But
Yeah,
you,
I think you're right. And this is one of these, like, these are like townhome rental. I think these are townhome rentals. We get a lot of these style deals in Texas that they're kind of new urbanistic. But if I were to actually look at the street, I bet this would look pretty plain. Maybe one thing we could do is just by respecting this axis right here, we could do something in our massing, or maybe a paseo on the ground floor, or do a bump back or something.
I mean, one thing that jumps out to me as an option that I would at least test, right, is to take that garage and turn it 90 degrees, right, so that it runs left to right into the site, and that you might have access from both sides, um, from the street that fronts along the highway, but also from that secondary feeder street, and then to create a kind of call it a north donut and a south donut that allows you to really start to automatically vary the facade along that second street and allows you to kind of create a different approach to this community. But I think it also puts that garage kind of equidistant to most of the units within the project too. Whereas the path you're walking down right now with the layout that you've got is going to create some inequity for some of the units that are at the remote corners of that building from the parking. So I would think about that too.
Okay, so maybe
If you,
the design decision now is we'll vary the facade on this edge. We'll have some kind of turn in, some kind of refuge from the highway, some kind of motor court here. And then we sort of split the project into two. Like there's the south group and the north group.
right.
And it looks like that area across the street, it looks relatively new, but those look like walk up townhome units. So that could be a thought. Even though we don't need to show it, those could potentially be kind of walk ups to kind of mirror what's happening on that other side.
Yeah, that's a great comment.
Pretty good design change.
All right, that's my contribution for the day, guys.
Yeah, feel free to come back. We'll be here until like 2:30 Central.
Hmm.
All right, awesome. No, Matt, it was great meeting you. I'll
Yeah.
give it some time and see where you guys end up in a little bit.
Okay, awesome. Good talking with you.
All right, thanks, guys.
See ya.
I liked his contribution.
It's very good.
I think what I'm gonna do is I might go the other direction because it's a pretty orthogonal. Like there's only gonna be two axes. I might just draw the units now and then do the massing stuff later.
Gotcha. Yeah, get those kind of placed out.
Yeah, just get them placed out, or at least get them built. Who is the next person? I think Christian Jordan's the next guy.
See if we have him on.
I don't think he's on yet. It's fine. It's 11. People can be 10 seconds late. Let's see here. But I really am enjoying drawing. I can see how people would be pretty mad if you said drawing's never going to come back. Or I guess
No,
I guess drafting.
I think drafting will always be there, even if it's just like a quick sketch that you do. So, I mean, even within TestFit with the use of manual mode, you still get that option to kind of do it yourself some. So, I don't think it would ever go away.
Well, drawing's never going to go away, but I think what people are worried about is like the seeds of the profession, like the very basic things that you need to be an actual great architect is like you actually really do need to be able to draw, especially when you're communicating to other designers, because like the way that we think is more visual.
Yeah.
So I'm just making sure my blocks are the right size, and I might actually separate them by layer. Studios. This red color. One. Bedrooms. Matt, can you send or look on my calendar and send the second time slot person to just send him an email and say, hey, we're up and running.
Yeah. Is this Christian?
I think it's Christian.
Okay, cool. Oh,
Is that him? Christian?
looks like it is.
Hey, Clifton. Hey, how are you?
Hey, man.
Sorry, I'm 120 seconds late.
Oh no.
I was
Hopefully
getting
the machine
really
doesn't hold
worried.
The machine doesn't hold it against me.
So we're drawing rectangles right now.
Love it.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah.
So
I draw a
Christian,
pretty mean rectangle.
give us an introduction on yourself, on Jam, on what you're
Sure.
doing.
Sure. So hey guys, Christian Jordan, based out of Philadelphia. I own a small architecture firm that I'm feverishly trying to keep above water at the moment. But I'm also co-founder of Jam Collective, which seeks to allow small firms to act big and stay small while doing good through a decentralized network of firms that we're trying to build. And Clifton is certainly helping, if only to keep fire to my feet. So
Is that what I am to you?
it's a compliment for sure. But yeah, so that's me. Like I said, based out of Philly. It's currently sunny here. I think haven't been outside of my house in like 21 days.
Oh.
But yeah.
Hey, Christian, I'm just curious. Like right now, there's going to be so many new small architecture firms spun up.
Yeah.
Man, it'd be a great opportunity for you guys.
See the proverbial feet in the flames. Here he is, giving me the fire. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And what we're seeing with our conversations through like Philadelphia and Pennsylvania is, a lot of the conversations we at Jam have already had. So we're hoping that we'll fill a void. And oddly enough, my dad started the firm in '93 during a economic downturn. Not anything like we're experiencing now, but yeah, sometimes the impetus to start your own firm is just I don't have a job anymore, and I think I'd rather build something of my own than try to sell my services to another firm that may or may not hire me. So yeah. But yeah, who else we got on the call?
Yeah, meet Matt.
Oh, hey Matt.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
So
I like your ceiling fan. I miss having ceiling fans in my house. All my ceilings are so.
I'm literally gonna go downstairs and get some artwork because I don't have anything. And the first two people we've had on have had awesome artwork in the background. So I need to dress up my space for the camera. It looks like.
I'll have to tell my wife that she picked out. She's the artist.
At least
She's the doctor by trade, but she's got quite the eye.
Well, at least you can't see my laundry on the couch. Have it turned just high enough, so that's out of view.
Perfect. I know you could do some laundry.
I'm getting distracted listening to y'all talk.
Sorry.
Or start folding while we're here watching. I can watch my fold.
You could put some laundry on the wall. It could be your pop art.
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we can do that live on stream. Take suggestions.
So Christian, what kind of work does your firm, like your architecture firm, do today? We've talked a lot about Jam, but I haven't
Nothing.
really.
Today, nothing.
Oh, all right.
Sore subject. Too soon. Too
Too
soon.
soon.
No, no. We'll work on anything. So we steered our firm through the last recession, 08, 09. And the idea coming out of that was, all right, let's diversify. So the next time we have a downturn, our portfolio can absorb not having work in a particular sector or one or two markets. So we'll do anything from a single family addition to 500,000 square feet of industrial and light office and hospitality and kind of anything in between. So right before this crisis came upon us, we were doing a lot of multifamily, and this is, Clifton, how you and I started talking. A lot of multifamily, like
Oh yeah,
test fits for developers. Yeah,
you used TestFit on something in Philly. It was a smaller site. I wasn't really sure it'd be useful.
yeah, it was a smaller site, but it started the conversation up in the office of, look, we've got 4 of these multifamily projects that we are charged with providing zoning analysis, unit count, best and highest use for our developer client, so that they can offer a go no go, and that's only to get the funding, right? So for them, their business model is, we'll do multifamily, it'll be senior or low income, and we'll get state funding, and that'll be part of what makes this a viable product or project for us. So they're hiring us at our architect rates to just get them to a point where they can say, no, this doesn't make sense, or yes, this makes sense. And then they've still got, a year or two to get in the queue to try to find out if they have funding or not. And in the meantime, it's taken us, 2 to 4 weeks to get them something that they can react to, because it goes to their civil consultant, that goes to the registered community organizations here in Philly. They have conversations. So something like TestFit that allows us to quickly iterate through options, but also customize, right, what the 1 and 2 bedroom or through studios that they're comfortable building in their skill set. We think really would pay dividends.
Yeah, agreed, man. It's
preaching to the choir, right?
It's amazing. Like, it's amazing to me, just how much the development world truly depends on architects, because it is the product, right? You are designing the actual product, and so I tell architects, like, whenever they're like frustrated with their developers, like, look, without you, they are completely helpless.
Yeah, and they look to us to be, the ones that offer, zoning guidance, and be the ones that are up on, the local ordinances, and that takes effort, in addition to taking the blocks that we've created in CAD and arraying them, and adding a corridor, and deleting one or stretching one just because you don't quite get the fit that you're looking for at the end of a run. So if it's just a matter of, look, you wanted to hit 56 units, you're only getting 34. Okay, this project's dead. Like, on to the next one.
Ouch.
Well, but so a very real project that happened just the other day for this client. It was for control of a site through the city of Philadelphia, and all of their numbers were, we're going to get 50 to 60 units on here. So by the time we got around to getting, we got the deed, we put it in, 3 stories, review the zoning, try to do it by right, they're at 30 units. And you can't pack them any tighter, and they don't want to build any taller. So we had a phone call, and the guy is like, okay, this is the fastest decision I've ever made to not do this. And,
here's my thing is, like, how can we get paid for that? Like,
yeah,
I just saved, like, you might be able to say, like, I literally just saved you maybe 40 grand in opportunity cost just by
Yeah.
just by you talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something that like I feel like every architect should be aware of. Is like, look, if you can, it's not about solving the building that you are trying to solve. It's actually trying to solve the real estate deal or kill the real estate deal. So if you can use the building to kill the real estate deal, you're saving not only the architecture community a whole lot of trouble designing a building whenever you built, but the general contracting groups that are actually the ones that are going to have to do pre-con on it. There's a lot of time that gets saved.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I teach professional management to fifth year architecture students. And part of it is helping them understand the value that an architect brings to a project or brings to, a development team. And it's okay to help your client see that something isn't viable, the way that they envision it. And, we can then say, okay, here are some options that might work, because as architects, we're problem solvers, and we're well versed in multiple project types, and this might be useful to consider going forward. Or if you know your client really well and you know that a particular project type and unit number is where they want to be, then you just go to them and say, look, it's not going to work out this time, and let's get on to the next one. And we're doing it in such rapid fashion that they're not feeling as though they're in a lot on architect fees and into the process. Because sometimes it's, well, we're in so far, let's just keep pushing and pushing until we decide we don't want to do it. And by that time, now they're coming back to us and saying, we understand you spent all this time and money, but I don't know if we want to pay you all of it because the project's not happening. So, and then you get into that awkward conversation of like, well, is the value that you're asking to be compensated, really the fair market value if, we're not really carrying this forward. So this, to be able to quickly get through an option and get them to saying a deal should go forward or not, that's easy to sell the value to a developer.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Jam. So
yeah, sure.
I mean, this is maybe a good platform. I don't know if anybody's really watching this, but
I think my mom is. I sent my mom a link.
Looks like we got 17 people watching right now.
17 people? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We have one question coming in from Brian. It says, do any of you typically begin sketches in AutoCAD as opposed to Reddit or Revit?
That's a great question. So, the reason I'm using CAD is it's a much more ubiquitous tool. Like the AIA did the survey this past year, or they think they do it every year about BIM. But most firms are actually, Christian, you have better data than I do, I think. But most firms are still in CAD, right?
Yeah, for the most part, right? Because if we want to get into some of the numbers, you've got about 77% of all architecture firms have 9 or fewer employees, and this is all data that probably gets revisited after we survive this crisis. But the capital outlay for something like Revit, when a lot of those either sole proprietorships or small firms are still owned by like the old guard, CAD is still the standard. It's when you get into the larger firms, 50 or more, where Revit becomes more prevalent, and you're looking at 5 to 6% of all architecture firms. So we're taking this time as a small office. There are 5 of us. We're taking this kind of downtime to learn Revit through one of our employees. Sarah teaches Revit at Jefferson University in Philadelphia. So we're kind of using this opportunity to say, okay, Sarah, you're kind of setting the standard for us as an office, and you're teaching us Revit so that when work does pick back up and we are all better established standards, and we can talk kind of the same language as it pertains to Revit. Because when I came in to the office, we weren't using CAD. We were using or AutoCAD. We were using CADvance. It's like 1999 or something. And we moved to AutoCAD because we learned AutoCAD in school, and everybody coming out of school learned it. So you were kind of tilting at windmills if you wanted to use anything else. And what we're finding in school now is that students are getting
tilting at
Revit.
Windmills. Wait.
Yeah. What's that?
Explain that. What is that? What?
Yeah.
What was the phrase you just said?
Tilting at windmills. That's the Don Quixote reference. That's your cultural awareness for this segment. I think I'm done, right? I just had to throw in one reference.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, we're solid.
Yeah, Don Quixote. Anyway, so yeah, tilting at windmills is like, futile efforts. So now that students are coming into architecture school with some Revit experience from high school, they're going to be the force, that pushes Revit, even farther and faster.
What do you say to the guys that say like, oh, well, they're the ones pushing Revit because they don't know how to draw a wall?
Well, listen, it's the truth, right? And it's on us as educators, and then in the professional world as mentors and supervisors, to explain how that wall goes together and why you would build something a particular way. One of the conversations we're getting into in Revit, though, as an office, is how to make wall assemblies that we typically detail. So the conversation from the senior principal down to the newest junior staff member is, this is what goes into making a wall, and this is why we need to build it this way, and this is the thickness, this is the airspace. So it actually opens up a little bit more of the communication in that regard. So we could do a live stream some other time about what kids are learning in school and whether they're actually being taught architecture with a capital A. That's not necessarily.
Wait, does the capital A wearing a turtleneck and all black at the same time?
Yeah, right. Or the red scarlet letter of AutoCAD.
So whenever I left school and I started at the first firm that I worked at, I actually knew zero AutoCAD. So of course in the interview I said I know AutoCAD. I've opened it before, but
is this because you knew Revit?
No. We actually used Rhino.
Okay.
We mainly used Rhino on everything. So he asked me to do some things in AutoCAD, and I was like, this is going to take me forever because I had no idea how to even touch the program. So that was one thing I noticed when I came out of school a few years ago, that AutoCAD is king, it looks like, and it was not something that we had touched really. We just kind of stayed within Revit Rhino for the most part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now I miss Rhino though. I opened it up the other day just for fun, and I was like, I forgot all these commands I have to type in now.
Oh yeah, I miss Rhino.
It starts coming back to you when you really start getting into it. You're like, oh, this is great. This is why I liked it so much.
It's I used to teach. So I teach professional management now because I'm an older firm owner.
Mm-hmm.
But
is that
when I got out of school,
Pro Practice or something like that?
Yeah.
Is that another name for it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And when I started teaching in 2006, almost 15 years ago, I was teaching. Clifton, you were laughing at me the last time I told this story, but I was teaching Rhino script to architecture students, and then we dabbled in Grasshopper, and then we got back to learning Python through Rhino, and just the fun stuff that we were doing there, and the amount of learning that we were doing was pretty exciting and pretty fun. I miss those days. Those were the sandbox days.
Wait, what do you mean a sandbox day?
You get to play when you kind of play in the sandbox, right? You get a chance to really explore and experiment. And now I get up in front of students, and who here wants to make money? Who thinks profit is a bad word?
Oh,
So we
jeez.
You know, that kind of
we
stuff.
got another question coming in.
I'm a terrible teacher, but yeah.
Okay, so the question is, coming from a European point of view, are all multifamily residential buildings designed with a corridor going through the middle?
Oh, yes. I love this. All right. So in Europe, all right. I don't know if I'm actually going to get through this actual test fit during this.
He likes the conversation more. He's
I
just
like the
casually doing the.
conversation's great.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So in here I'll draw a European. This is how they do it. And the first time I saw it, I was like, that's crazy, but there's a reason why they do it. So they do I got to draw stairs anyways, so I'll do. This is how you draw stairs, by the way, if you don't know how to draw stairs. It's always like you always put it like a landing, and you always mirror it. Y'all are architects. Y'all know what I'm doing. That's all I
I'm
need.
taking copious notes.
Boom.
I'm taking
Stair.
notes.
So they'll get a stair, and then they'll get an elevator. 12. Call it 12. It'll be a bigger elevator, 12 by 12 or something. And then this is like we've been. I went to Europe. Like I went to Europe because of this, to understand this. And that was last year in October.
That's
right.
his reasoning. Nah, just kidding.
Well, I couldn't. I didn't understand. You know, I needed to sit down with an actual European in Europe and like look at one of these deals.
Yeah.
So then they have this little communal. It's like a lobby on every floor that's shared between like 4 units or so. Join that, and then I don't know. Maybe we would go 30 feet out. Stop it. And this was me, like, I was telling my co-founder, I think they do housing very differently in other parts of the year. And I was telling him this for a couple of years, but it's really good to get out to Europe and see in person how these things get designed. So they'll do this, and then they'll do, they call them dual aspect units, where you have, this is about 60 feet still. No, actually, it should be more. Why don't I just do this? Do a rectangle, and then we'll offset like 28 feet. There we go. That was a better idea. See, this is what I'm saying. The nature of work changes. All right, so they'll do this, and then you'll get access to like every unit from this core, and what they're aiming to do is get these units that they call dual aspect units. So where it's like looking out in 2 directions. And yeah, think about the longitude of Europe. It's very far north. So having access to hopefully, one edge that's going to get some sunlight some of the year is pretty important. You wouldn't be able to do that in Texas because look, these are all, they would call these single aspect units. Well, this unit's facing north. It's never really going to get direct sunlight the whole year. But hey, this is America, so I guess we can get away with that. So they'll do this, and then if they have to take up a large block or something, they'll copy it like 4 times. And so here's your multifamily building. It has a lot more stairs than what we would do in IBC. It has a lot more elevators than what we would do. But every sort of, you kind of get it with the European culture. Like you kind of have your lobby with your lift and your staircase, and the people that you see in that thing are kind of your community. And then you come to the U.S., it's like we're going to build hundreds of feet of corridor. So hopefully that answers the question for the guy on the YouTube chat.
Yeah, we also have Craig. He's answering some of our questions for us. So there's a dialogue now happening in our chat.
That's good. Yeah. Now, I don't know, like from a purely architecture standpoint, this certainly seems like a better design solution to housing. But it is not like this is way more expensive. So in the U.S., where everything is privately funded, I don't think we'll ever end up with buildings like this. So Christian, you ever do?
Oh, you're good, Craig. Keep on doing it.
Christian, you ever do any work out of country?
No.
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 Is it mostly
Lived in Rome. Yeah.
You lived in Rome. Is most of y'all's work in Philly then?
It's in that we call it the tri-state area, so it's like New Jersey, New York, Philadelphia, but then we'll work in Delaware. I've recently gotten licensed in North and South Carolina and Michigan. We have a client, a national client that has been taking us to some of their commercial fit outs across the country. So that's been nice and helpful. So so we're primarily in this area, the Northeast, but we'll travel.
Very nice.
Yeah, which has been helpful. They're still doing construction down in Delaware.
Still?
Yeah.
Isn't that awfully close to New Jersey?
Yeah, by like a body of water, I think.
It's like a Chesapeake Bay away.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you take the ferry over. Yeah.
That's great. That was a great question, and it gave me an excuse to draw a European building.
Yeah, it took me back. I lived in an apartment like that, and how much nicer it was.
Yeah, seriously.
Than anything we came back to in the States.
You don't like 200 or 300 foot corridors? Those are great.
Yeah.
I don't think this one's gonna work. I'm just trying to find a better. Oh, that'll work. Do 2 1-beds. All right. Looks like the orthogonal bit of our deal is going to work out well. So, what are you guys marketing? To people that are looking for. I'm going to talk about Jam again for a second.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like now would be a great time to get people into the ecosystem, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to start doing some Zoom meetings, just inviting current founders, CEOs, principals of members that are already part of Jam, and then also broadcasting that out, just anybody interested, as a way to kind of spread the word, but also have the conversations about, okay, it's almost like an opportunity to reset what firms really need to be successful, going forward. A lot of us are working from home. A lot of us are having Zoom meetings. Can working remotely, even when we get back into the office, does it allow us to work and provide professional services, in areas and markets where we weren't previously? And then there'll be an opportunity for those firms that are able to stay, keep their lights on throughout this, when things do open back up. So, yeah, I'll keep you in the loop. What's that?
No, I'm just laughing. It's like, no matter. I think every business is kind of thinking the same way. Like I talked to a firm earlier this morning that was their idea for the next recovery is like they want to get into multifamily.
Yeah.
Because I guess the idea is like everybody needs housing. So might as well just get a studio that does housing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my former employer had to lay off a bunch of people, and it's a real estate developer just now.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think it's going to get, and I don't like to say it's going to get bad, but I'm also too young. Like I've never gone through a recession before.
Yeah.
Which is not exciting, especially when you're like when you're like a non-essential technology provider.
Yeah.
To an industry that is going to go through a recession, it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, having gone through the last one, that was primarily, housing. Some of our commercial clients, kept us afloat. But this one is just so different because everybody's affected, um, unless you're designing hospitals or, you have healthcare kind of in the pipeline. Um, but it'll be interesting to see, who can the economy rise in together, once we're allowed to get back to business as usual, and then what does usual look like? But we at Jam think that, okay, yes, there are market sectors that are going to perform better than others, but to think about, the the value add of designers and the thought leaders that exist out there, you know, we're talking about resiliency, um, you know, energy efficiency, net zero, those types of thought leaders that are out there and their practices that are still in business, they provide value that, a small firm wouldn't necessarily be able to just all of a sudden learn on the fly. And right now, when things aren't being built, you don't have that trial by fire either.
Right.
So
Hmm.
connecting small firms, that multifamily firm, they may want to also understand, what makes something energy efficient or, net zero or has, a well component in it. Because it's going to be yes and I think going forward. Like, yes, you can do multifamily, and what else do you do? Or what else, how can you set that multifamily apart from everybody else? So
That's the hard. I think that's the hard thing in architecture is that like there's so much competition.
mhm.
Um, that like right now firms are like, all right, well, how are we different from other firms?
Right.
And um, I don't know. Like maybe it's hard for firms to really express that.
It is, well, because it's still a very, proud profession, right? Like, you don't for many reasons you wouldn't necessarily go to a client and say, I provide this service for you, but you could get it done cheaper and better somewhere else. Like a buddy of mine just started his own firm, so his overhead's low, and his niche was in an area where I'm not all that proficient. You could probably get him to do it for a tenth of the cost. Like, yeah, that's not also not
You're
not
not you're
not a
not
viable
message you're not
business model.
messaging that to your clients.
No, exactly. But and by the same token, firms are proud and not necessarily saying, hey, can we partner up? Because I know, I admire the way that you've come up with, creative solutions for multifamily, in this instance. Um, and I think some of that is it's new to people. Where does the liability lie? Can we check our egos at the door? A lot of the stuff that Jam as an ecosystem and a culture, we want to help address so that it is, top of mind as you're trying to understand or determine what your value add is in a project or what differentiates you from, you know, the rest of the firms that are all vying for, similar projects.
Yeah, it's an interesting business, and it's it's hard. I think, or at least for me, it was hard to see a future where I could really control like my own destiny in architecture.
Yeah.
Because like you feel like you're typically under the whims of some developer or some contractor or something. Um, so I mean, I don't know. Like maybe being a firm leader or earning. Really, I think once you earn the trust of a real estate developer or a client or
Mhm.
something, then you can really kind of do some really great design work.
Yeah.
But it takes a long time and a lot of fee and a lot of construction stuff to earn that trust.
Yeah. 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 We've all seen the saying that, it takes a lifetime to earn trust, and then, one bad one bad experience to lose it. Um, so it's definitely having a business, running an architecture firm. It's a long play, and you're gonna make mistakes along the way, but you just hope that you build up enough goodwill for when that, that wrinkle in the project, or that, that one thing that you probably didn't put as much time into as you should have, comes back to bite you, that you've got at least a good enough foundation of a relationship to work through it.
Or the intern got the scale wrong.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
we had a kid. We had a kid leave our firm. This was many, many years ago, and he calls me. This is when we'd still make phone calls, and
He didn't zoom you.
no, right. And he goes, do you know? He's like, did you know that when you do a stair, that the tread is from the leading edge to the leading edge? I'm like, yeah, yeah, we know that. He goes, because I think every stair I drew in the office is wrong.
Oh no.
Nice.
He's calling me after he's left. So yeah,
Well,
yeah,
at
intern.
least he called you. I mean, that's
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, yeah,
says
and he was very
something.
nice. So yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. You have the relationships with clients. You also have the relationships with employees. Who may leave, for greener pastures. You may have to, lay off at some point. You want in a professional service environment where relationships matter everywhere. You want to make sure that you're treating everybody with the respect they deserve.
But I think that's like something really great about architecture is the culture. Like the culture is pretty great. Um, so if you were to like, I know the hours and like people complain about the hour. Everybody works an obscene amount of hours in every industry. I don't think it's unique to architecture. But a lot of people try to say like, oh, this is very unique to architecture that we have, that we're working all these hours. But I don't think it's actually that unique. Everybody's working a lot of hours, but
Yeah.
we have this combine or this background in studio that starts the culture, and for better or worse, that culture is like hard work means your projects or your designs are going to get better over time.
Yeah.
The more iterations you do, the better. And I think they're trying to hit that home in the studio, and they typically do a pretty good job of that. At least they
Oh
did
yeah.
for me. I spent way too much time in the studio.
Yeah,
Oh
when I
yeah.
was in school, it was 24 hours, and then after we graduated, it was soon after they reduced it to you can only come into the studio until 2 a.m. or something. Um,
What?
That's when you
yeah,
get all the best work done.
I
That's
know.
when everybody else shuts up because they're like, it's time to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, that 2 a.m. to when the sun comes up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
Yeah, I
yeah,
had done a collaboration studio where we had landscape and interior designers also, and they hated that we would not finish things until like 11 o'clock for them to have. It's like, hey, we're gonna be here till like in the morning. They're like, well, I want to go to bed, and I was like, I guess they don't work the same as us.
right, right.
It's like I'm gonna be here until my review tomorrow, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna go home and take a shower if I'm lucky. If not, I'm
I
gonna
was,
sleep on the bench in the hallway.
I was say I strategically timed my shower today so that it doesn't. I don't need one before the
Right?
before the review. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Reviews also are like pretty great because it's a trial. It's like trial by fire,
Hmm.
and all the commentary is subjective. So
Hmm.
you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
And
you
I
get
don't
the.
like. I
Yeah.
just don't see like in the business school. I don't see like you know people sitting around a PowerPoint presentation for 45 minutes discussing the merits of how they put it together.
Right.
Nobody else
Right.
does that.
No, but in that regard, an education in architecture prepares you for the professional world in ways that a lot of other degrees don't. You know, um, we're we're well versed in the Adobe Creative Suite, and we can draw a floor plan, and we can understand a set of drawings, and we can communicate effectively, and we're not beholden to PowerPoint. All those things, all those reasons why architects make such great professionals.
I love not being beholden to PowerPoint until they
Yeah,
say, until you're like a presenter and they're like, oh yeah, this has to be in PowerPoint.
yeah,
And you're like,
yeah,
well, I haven't used PowerPoint in years.
Yeah.
yeah,
What is this?
yeah.
How does PowerPoint work? It's kind of funny. Like it's such a like when you start using the Adobe suite for all your design stuff, you get used to a level of control, and
Hmm.
then when you're using the stuff that Microsoft puts together, it's like you have less control over it.
Yeah.
It's
Only less
hard to get used
yeah.
to.
Yeah. Well, Clifton, I'm gonna have to hop off and prep for my next call.
Yeah,
But
feel free
yeah,
to.
happy to be a part of it. Nice to meet everybody,
Mhm.
and let me know when you do it again, and we can sit. I can get back with some drafting. I think when I hopped
Oh,
on, somebody was mentioning how
we're gonna we're
cathartic it
gonna we're
is
gonna
to
have
draft.
we're gonna have guest I don't know what the right word is.
Guest speakers.
If this goes well, we'll have like
Guest
I'm thinking
lecturers.
we could find someone that'll do it in Revit, and we'll talk about the nature of work in Revit.
Yeah.
Somebody might wire up a Grasshopper script or something. Like it could be really cool just to see
Yeah.
how different technologies in
Mm-hmm.
this long form. We're actually walking through like
Yeah.
I haven't really been focusing too much on talking about this, but I'm almost there.
Yeah, I'll check back in and see how it's filled out.
It's gonna be a joy, man. It's gonna be a joy.
It's refrigerator work. Just put that on the refrigerator when you're done.
Whoever owns this piece of land is gonna get a free test fit courtesy of us.
Well, it's
It
actually
can be a
funny.
li-
I went to go look at the land real quick, and it's actually being developed right now. So I'm trying to find out what the building is. It looks like they split the site into two separate sites.
Oh, they did?
So I'm gonna try to find out what they did. Yeah, it looks like there's a tower going up on one portion, and the other one's being left for probably something more like this.
So not
or
a giant wrap.
any trapezoidal site. People are logging in and
Oh yeah.
get a good floor
I'm
plan.
not excited about rationalizing all this right now.
Yeah, the long part comes when you have to create tabulations and get all that out.
Oh yeah. All right,
Oh, I
Christian.
think it's an office building.
We'll
All
talk to you
right,
soon,
gents.
man.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
It was fun, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you guys.
I really like their idea. If I was starting an architecture firm today using something like Jam,
hmm
I think you would be able to progress a little bit more quickly in your growth, just because you have other people around you. I mean, I saw how valuable it was to have a co-founder when doing TestFit.
hmm
Oh man, if you don't have other people, your willpower just starts to fall apart. All right. So what I need a really oblong outside corner. So I need 4 different units. And I think I can use the same ones up here and down there. How we doing on time?
We are at 1 hour and 10 minutes so far.
Nice.
It goes fast.
It does go fast, yeah. Let's see who the next. I think somebody
So
else.
the
Someone will be here
next
at
one
noon.
is, yeah, I think Nicholas won't be here. We do have,
Oh,
uh,
Aaron's coming at noon. Yes.
yeah, he'll be here at noon.
He's gonna be like, "Why are you even doing this? This was a terrible idea." um. So I'm probably gonna go back and rewatch some of what we did last week. Let's see here.
So Craig said that we can hit him. He's from our chat. We can hit him up for the Revit portion of this.
Oh
So
yeah.
when we switch to the Revit version, he can be our guinea pig.
Yeah,
No, it's
let's
definitely
do
cool
it.
seeing these different kind of workflows of how people work through these sites, because everybody does it a little bit differently. I mean, from even how I'm doing it to how you're doing it, we're getting to the same result. We're definitely doing it in kind of different methods.
Yeah. I would when I was working professionally, I had got all of the information I had just built up and ready to go for test fits was, like you could get it done really quickly. And you could do changes really quickly because we used blocks that all had parameters.
Mhm.
But I left there and I don't have any of that stuff, so I'm stuck doing it by
Yep.
hand. That's why I was like creating dynamic blocks on the fly because I don't necessarily like all the little manual adjustments that you make to these little units in 3D and 2D. it adds up. Lots of time spent.
Yeah. It is much faster once you kind of have these things established, and then you're just plugging them in quickly.
Yeah, these inside corner units are gonna suck.
Those look like prime units.
What do you mean?
They have at least 6 feet of window. I'm just kidding.
I mean, what you would probably do is like you'd actually like inset something so that it would be less, so you could have like a balcony or something.
Yeah, you'd also probably chop out that back corner to be some kind of electrical, mechanical space.
Oh yeah, back here.
Mm-hmm.
Big triangular space. Yeah. One bed, studio. So I have to have some units that are pretty good, and I'm trying to keep the orientations pretty much aligned.
Mm-hmm.
So if I need to add balconies later, it's not going to be a big change.
Yeah.
But yeah, all these one beds are flipped the wrong way. I could have added a flip command in the
in your block editor?
Yeah. But it's okay. Let's see. I need to rotate some of these. So, all right. So like this is what I'm saying. Let's see how many clicks it takes to rotate this block and to line it up along this edge. 1, 2, 3. Oops. Call it 3. And then 4. I got the wrong one. 5. Base point, reference. Like all of these little moves just add up to a lot of time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'm not knocking the software. I'm just saying like the software does what it is supposed to do. It just takes a long time to get what you're trying to do done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually true in Revit. Like you still have to mirror things, you still have to rotate things. It's a manual. Like I know it's BIM, but it's still drawing things manually. We got any questions on the YouTube?
No, not right now. The 2 feet of windows. They were saying that you were making some European units in the corners with multi-directional light. No other questions yet.
Yeah.
Craig did say that he stayed up for 4 days before reviews and fell asleep standing up while the dean was critiquing his work. Sounds pretty common in architecture school. Definitely have dozed off many times.
That's the best use of tuition I've ever heard of. I fell asleep while the dean was critiquing my design.
It's like, what did he say? I was like, oh, I've totally just knocked off during that one.
That's awesome. God, this unit's huge. It's like 1,500 feet. That's all right. TestFit. Matt, did you ever have like the worst review you've ever had?
No, my reviews never were really that bad. Never had them tear up models or papers or anything, so they all honestly were pretty well. Definitely had some other people in studios with me where so there was one, it was actually a great one. We were given a word and we had to create a model off of it. So this guy's word was chaos and he had to create chaos. So he presented it to the professor and she was awesome. And he's like, well, this is chaos. He goes, how is this chaos? When she asked him, and she looks at him for a second, takes the model and just smashes it on the ground. She goes, that's chaos, and that's what you should have done for your presentation. I was like, we all kind of like were shocked for a minute. It's like, she just smashed his model, but also made a great point. That's truly chaos right there. So
what?
He was not excited. But she did say take pictures before the review for a reason. So we all had pictures of our models before the review happened.
Wait,
but
so
she definitely
the same professor that smashed the model said take pictures.
Well, yeah, it was our professor that smashed the model during the review because she felt like what he had presented wasn't chaos, and she showed him what that would have been.
Dude, that's so evil.
Yeah, it was great because we all were shocked because Gwen, we've all been up forever working on whatever we were working on, and she's like, "Let me show you," and just smashed it. And we were like, "That's what it is." It's like we got Aaron joining us.
Yeah, Aaron's here.
Also, I
Hello.
changed my lighting to blue so I don't feel left out with all the artwork I've seen.
What's up, Aaron?
How's it going?
Dude, I'm drafting for the first time in a very long time.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
It looks terrible.
Nice corner unit. I can't wait to put a bedroom in there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what we're gonna do with this. we're
Good times.
gonna put like something in there, an elevator. I don't know.
That's awesome.
So,
Oh yeah, you do need stairs and elevators around. Someone did mention that one.
Oh yeah, I need to do that too. Compliance. So Aaron, we're just professionally shooting the shit.
Yeah, totally.
If that's the right way to put it. I mean, this is not like really well crafted content.
They never are these days.
So how's the I know you work from home, so maybe I should say how has coronavirus changed you? I think your wife's working from home too.
She is. She's actually sitting right next to me, and so I don't know if my camera's working in Google or not. I can't see my picture anywhere.
I just see you standing next to a bike, so I don't see your camera going yet.
Yeah, why is that? Okay. Well, that's too bad because the light's on the camera, so it says it's working. But yeah, so the whole reason I was mentioning that is both my wife and my little girl are in the office right now with me. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, so it's a funny story. Is when we bought this house, we wanted to hire some folks to work for Parallax locally. So we actually have like 3 full desks in this office. But then, the particular people that we found to work with us ended up being in other cities and states. So then we have a spare desk that just sits there. So my wife is an architect at Stantec, and they were actually really cool. Kind of before they said everybody should go work at home, they kind of said people can go work at home. So she actually started working at home. Like the week before everybody else kind of did, which was nice. So yeah, she's at a desk right next to me, and my little 2-year-old daughter is sitting on my lap watching you poorly draw apartments.
Ooh,
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Just kidding.
we like it.
Oh, it's great. I'm just teasing you. Man, if I had to get an AutoCAD right now and draw a whole building, I would be like, I get an AutoCAD still every couple of days, and I'm hilariously slow at it now. It's really funny.
So do you use Revit more than AutoCAD right now?
Oh,
Is that
yeah,
kind of your
yeah.
workflow? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, the only time I even go into AutoCAD now is when I'm coordinating with subcontractors and their drawings are in AutoCAD. So, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's affected us a little bit. We had some training engagements that were actually going to clients' offices, and obviously those got kiboshed, which is good, right?
It sucks.
And that was by us. I mean, we reached out to the clients and said, "Hey, like, do you really want to do this training anyway?" And because it was the first week of the quote unquote lockdown, and the client actually responded and said, "Yes, we would like to do the training still." And we were like, "Well, okay," but they changed their mind like 2 hours later.
They're like, nah.
It's like, hey, I kind of assumed you were going to say no, but I'm a little more surprised you said yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was a situation where they have a Dallas office, so I wasn't traveling. Like they were flying people from 5 other offices into Dallas, and I was like, hey, it's a 15-minute drive every day for me, and I'm standing at the front of the room, far away from you guys, so I don't care if you want to do it. But
That's amazing to me that they'd fly a bunch of people here to get trained. That's the kind of training leadership that every firm needs to have.
Yeah, I mean, and it's those are the good firms, right? That are like, this is a particular firm that they saw, a lot of what we could offer in terms of making them faster and making them more efficient, and it's quote unquote stuff that they bought, new templates, new libraries. But if you're not going to make the investment in the people to learn how the stuff works, then buying a bunch of fancy crap isn't going to help anybody. So they were really cool. They were like, yeah, let's fly in like our leaders and like our technical leaders and let's get them all trained, and then they can train the rest of the staff. And it's a shame that, it got canceled, but everyone's going through that now. So
I'm gonna be way off. I need to create some 2 beds. So here, I'll flip back to Excel. So here's what we're trying to achieve.
yeah.
There's like a mix percentage. There is the number of units that we need of each type, and then this is what we're trying to get on the first floor. So we have 16 studios, 37 1 beds, and 28 2 beds. So
Is your Excel on the other screen?
oh yeah, you can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Just checking.
I switched it for the live stream.
Cool.
Not for you. Although if you popped up the live stream one, well, it's like 30 seconds behind, so it wouldn't make sense.
No,
Yeah,
no worries.
I had to mute that sound because that was a hard. I was like answering to your questions like 30 seconds later.
Oh man, that's the worst. So like when I get on Twitch just to goof around, I have to like configure all the sound because I opened it on one screen so that I can make sure it's working, and like you start hearing yourself delayed and it's brutal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Are you watching Clifton make apartments? Yeah. She's sitting totally still watching you. It's really funny.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. This is architecture. We're never going to do this for a living when we grow up, okay?
Dude, I wish sound
People
advice.
People are always like, "Are you guys are you going to raise a little architect daughter?" We're both like, "Hell no."
Right.
Hey, is she work at the Stantec office in it's like out in Addison or wait, Plano or
That was in Plano, yeah.
Plano, yeah. So it was at Legacy West, and they just moved, so they're like a block from Legacy West now, over by the tollway.
Okay, we've actually been out there. We've been in that office. We gave them
cool.
a presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, about a month ago, I think.
Who did you meet with out there? Was it Wes? I forget his last name.
Aaron, I take thousands of meetings. I don't know names anymore.
Where are you going, babe? You leaving? No, she's done with me. She's going back to mommy.
She's
sorry,
like, this
sweetie.
is boring.
Come here.
I need 28
That's
of
funny.
these. This whole courtyard is going to be 1 beds moving forward.
I'm so bummed my camera's not working. I'm going to try to, let's see, video.
Yeah, but like even on the live stream, it's just showing AutoCAD. So
Oh, cool. I gotcha.
you're here to provide commentary. Like
No, that's awesome.
like wow, how shitty are you at AutoCAD? It's amazing you even produced an application that could be halfway usable by people.
Have you seen the sports commentary of the marbles racing on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, it's fantastic. I was half picturing that's what we were going to be doing. Like Clifton's coming in with a 2-bedroom and he's going down the right side, but I don't think he's going to make it. It's not going to fit. He's not thinking about the stair towers.
Wait, we need to do this now. Like
Oh,
start
sounds
now.
great.
All right, Aaron, ready, set, go.
Clifton's coming in with the 1-bedrooms. I don't know where he thinks he's going here, but they're not going to fit. Is he thinking about circulation? Where are the stairs going? I have to tell you, Bob, I think this is not a very good plan. He's coming in with the 2. Oh, there's a gap. It doesn't fit. Something's going to have to get smaller.
Oh,
Actually,
my gosh.
something had to get bigger. Oh, now Adeline's all curious what I'm doing. Do you want to come sit up here? No? Do you want to say hi? Okay.
Hello, everybody can hear you across the Twitterverse or
That's awesome.
I don't know. Matt? Are there actually people watching this live right now?
We have 20 people watching us.
Oh my gosh.
We have grown by 20, 21 now. We are growing.
Coronavirus has made everybody so bored they're gonna watch me draft things manually.
And you know what? I need to retweet it real quick because I kind of forgot. Let's see. See if I can find. I guess I have to search for Clifton or TestFit. That'll work.
Fit.
Am I watching from social quarantine zone?
Yeah. All right. I think I'm kind of close to where I want to be. So I have still way too many. I think I can do this in 3 floors, Matt. I don't think I need 4.
Nice, get it.
Oh, Aaron, we talked about how Europeans do apartments. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but they do like a core in the middle, and then they do like 3 or 4 units off of that core, and then they just have multiple cores. And like this right here would just be like a big firewall. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we obviously get to travel a fair amount, and I'm always amazed when I look at housing, both single family residential and multifamily, and the way it gets done in the rest of the world versus the way we do it here. Um, Obviously, like we just act like we have, infinite amounts of land. They shoehorn these apartments into these tiny little spots over in Europe. It's fantastic to look at. And the adaptive reuse they do over there versus us just being like, plow the field, we're putting up another building. I'm like, okay,
Plow the field.
level it,
like
destroy it.
The inch here. I'll turn the map on. This is out in Plano, I think. But
oh, is it really?
Yeah. So here's this is Legacy over here.
Okay.
I guess your wife works.
Yep.
Around here somewhere. But like 20 years ago, this was all farms.
Yeah. So I mean, we just moved into our house in Allen in 2016, and 5 blocks north of us was a bunch of farmland, and now there's like, acres of apartments going up right there. It's crazy.
It's amazing to me that it's happening in Dallas, Texas. Like we don't have natural resources. We don't have a port. We're not on the ocean. Like maybe the reason Dallas is good because it's not Denver, but it's centrally located. Maybe that's why people live here.
No, you know what it is? I mean, seriously, it's so cheap. I mean, for those listening who don't know my story, I moved down here in 2010 from Syracuse, New York. But I mean, Syracuse is upstate New York where it's really cheap. But originally I'm from downstate. So that like New York, Boston, even Austin, it's just so expensive. And I laughed when I moved down here from Syracuse because Dallas isn't that much more expensive than Syracuse, which is like Syracuse is like nothing. You pay in Syracuse, you pay 44% of the national average for real estate. So like my first house was 3 bedrooms. I paid $115,000 for it.
Oh my gosh,
which is insane.
Oh, wow.
Now, I mean, it was a small 3-bedroom house, and it was from the 1960s. It wasn't like a great house, but when I moved to Dallas, the first thing I came down for a job interview, I met with a realtor, went and checked out some houses and stuff, and it's like, holy cow, you can live here so easily without going broke. If I had a ton of money and I wanted to build a development right now, I would totally do it in Dallas. There's a few acres up the street from us that's zoned for mixed use that's for sale right now, and I'm like, should have jumped on the call at the beginning. I could have derailed your whole thing and shown you where the plot of land is, and you could have test fit a building for us.
Well,
Give him a live test fit.
Matt picked this one out.
I did.
All right, travel distance rules. I have 125 feet to get to the staircase, which means. Okay, I'll do.
Come here, sweetie. We're heading for the stairs. Sorry.
Oh, I'm also heading for the stairs right now. So this is not actually accurate, but it'll help me. Know where I need to put staircases.
When I was building my first, office implementation of Revit, I went through this with fire extinguishers with them, as they always wanted this 75-foot circle, and I'm like, yeah, that's not valid. Like, you can't do that because you got to like turn at hallways, and you can't walk through walls and stuff. And I still go back and forth with firms on that, and that's kind of where, some automation and some dynamo stuff really comes into play, because like they just wanted me to make a fire extinguisher with a 75-foot circle, and they would kind of mindlessly tell me, as long as the building's covered by the circles, we're good. And I'm like, you're going to get people killed. I'm sunshine, if you can't tell. I come into an office and just bring it down a level. Put the stairs in the garage. That'll be awesome. Just like drop it right in the,
like right
next
there.
to some park. Yeah, why not? Like, it's even better if that's like an open balcony landing on the stairs, so that people could just drive right under it.
All right, so we'll cheat a little bit. We'll say we're just gonna put stairs in all 4 corners of the garage, which will give us a lot more reach. And then I probably just need 2 more, one here and one there. So I'm just gonna eyeball. I'm not actually gonna go back through and like check to see if I'm accurate, but this should be roughly the amount of stairs that we need. And I can just put it in the. Oh, hey, other countries, by the way, don't have this. You know, you're in school and you're like, oh, international building code. Oh, every country must be following this code.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what flies in other countries in terms of, building requirements and staircases. And I've got big stupid clown feet, so I like our very generous requirements for stairs. And I get on some of those winders in like European buildings, and I feel like I'm going to kill myself trying to get up and down the stairs.
Oh my
It's a little,
gosh.
yeah.
little crazy.
Very steep stairs sometimes too.
Yes. Yes.
That's like a 1.5 step.
Yep.
I'm gonna put these on the outside.
So when you started, were these units just like prototypical sizes that you typically use?
No, I took the unit mix, target numbers, and I just inferred that these are about the right size.
Gotcha.
And
Cool.
I made sure that the unit average was a little bit lower than, or what am I trying to say? I'm gonna make up some of the net rentable that I need in these corners because the corners are so giant.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, this is why I was excited when you guys, at the beginning when you guys were first connecting your stuff to Dynamo, is like a lot of the firms that we work with, like we start with something basic like wall types because it infuriates me that architects feel the need to reinvent the wheel on what a wall is called in every office, but I digress. But then it kind of expands into like, for hospitals, patient rooms, and for multifamily apartments. And like so many of my multifamily clients just like keep rebuilding units all the time. And it drives me crazy. And we've had good success explaining to a lot of them that like, drop a unit in from somewhere else that you've used before and then modify it. It's like worlds faster than starting it over. So like, we haven't had a chance to play with it, extensively, but I'm super excited to start taking some of the unit groups in Revit that we've built and having Dynamo automatically shove them in based on what TestFit does. I think it'd be really cool.
don't get ahead of yourself, man.
That's okay. We're busy, so I won't get there anytime soon.
God forbid we automate everything.
Oh my gosh, some of those conversations online are just hilarious, by the way, but that's another story.
What, some of the comments that I'd send you from time to time? Because
I mean the fact that people will come right out and say like automation is bad because it will take our jobs, and I'm like, that us keeping our jobs is not a valid reason to stay completely inefficient and stupid, right? Like that's that's just people ask me all the time like, so what do you want your company to do? And I'm like, well, we have like two types of work that we do. We work with AE firms and we work with contractors. I want the side of the work that we do with AE firms to make it so that we don't have to do the work with the contractors anymore, because I joke around with folks that when I'm working for a contractor, I'm basically the trash man of the project. Like I'm cleaning up everybody's crap because it's done poorly. That shouldn't be a revenue stream for any company. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the work. I'm grateful for it. It's awesome. But, the fact that there is a job because people draw poorly is bad. But hopefully none of my clients are listening right now and they're like, we're not hiring him anymore.
I think they hired you because of the things that you say, though.
That's probably true. And we do love it. Like the work is a lot of fun. But I like, we talk about one of my multifamily clients, out in Atlanta. And when I was in their office last time, and I was looking at good drawings that they have, like I felt like so much better about that than like when I'm working on projects where we're trying to interpret drawings that are lesser than. And I'm like, I was joking around with Scott Davis from Autodesk that weekend in Atlanta because I was sitting in an office babysitting computer installs, and I was just thumbing through multifamily drawings, and it's gratifying when you see firms that can draw well. But still, the amount of,
what do you mean well? Like what is your definition of they're drawing well?
So there's several schools of thought on what architects and engineers should be responsible for, and like literally I hear from some architects like, well, we do like design intent, and I'm like, okay, like to step back for a bit, if architects' drawings have a bunch of CYA notes on them that say like this slope minimum, like, okay, if you've said 1/4 inch per foot minimum, and then I do the math and 1/4 inch per foot doesn't fit where you've written that note, you haven't done your job. And they're like, well, that's the intent. And I'm like, okay, well, the intent, the math doesn't work. Like math doesn't lie, right? Like what you're doing right now, like, so you're setting up all these units. And this is a great example because I just went through this on a hotel. So let's assume that somebody's doing documentation for this building down the road. They're not going to dimension every single 2-bedroom unit. They're going to have unit typicals. So if you've given the unit typical a length and a width, and then what you've drawn in the plan isn't that, then I don't think you're done. You haven't done a good job, because it's going to come out in the wash when somebody's out there building it. Like it's not going to fit, or it's going to be too small, or the units are going to be all janky. And so like, for me, good drawing is like honesty in drawings. Like things, what you've drawn works. You haven't like fat sharpied it, to just make things look like they fit. Dimensions close properly. That's the stuff that really just chaps my hide. Is like when things dimensionally don't even work.
So if I went into units right now and I set my precision to 1/256th, is this a good practice when I'm drafting out a site plan?
I mean, so and this is a very polarizing topic, but there's so here's what I can tell you. I tell all of my clients to do is it's at a 256 of an inch always.
Oh,
because because if you start that way, even in SD or concept, you're fixing it as you go. So there won't be this monumental Herculean effort later to fix the goofy dimensions. Like people end up having to fix it later because they don't start that way at the beginning. Oh my goodness! I hear my that was downstairs too.
That was it's quite loud.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know if I want kids anymore, man.
It's a different kind of challenge, but the most exciting thing I've ever done. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. So like I start like in SD in concept, I started at 256 of an inch, and it doesn't ever slide the other way. Because think about it like this: if you want to make a room, or if you want to make a unit 20 feet by 40 feet, you're still typing in 20 by 40, and it's coming out exactly that. So, I feel like people don't need to be afraid of these ugly dimensions, because if you're just fixing them as you go, it's not that much work. It's when you fix it later that it's horrifying. Now, the one exception I make there is the United States measuring system and masonry units. We won't even go down that road, but you can't dimension brick at a 256 of an inch. It's just stupid. Doesn't work. But
all right, so I'm back in Excel. I'm gonna retabulate the units that I currently have in my plan, and I've been deleting units because I have way too many. So I'm at 50. Let's see here. I'm at 50 there. So I have 50 one-bed units, and I only needed 37.
Ooh. So
I'm 12 units too heavy. This is why I'm thinking that we could probably do it in 3 floors, but I'm at 24 2-bedroom units, and then I'm at 17 studios. So you gotta figure out how to drop 18 stacks, which doesn't seem practical at this point. That's why I hate site planning. We're already like 2 hours in, and I have like an idea of what the first thing could be. Aaron, do you ever draw some of these on your own?
Yeah. It's really fun for me to watch other people draw, because everybody draws differently.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. We did another one of these last week, where I was the subject versus the machine. So it's cool. It's cool seeing both aspects of it. And then we had somebody in chat who's volunteering to do it for Revit. So they'll do on a future one that we'll have. They'll be kind of doing that site plan from Revit's aspect instead of kind of in AutoCAD, which is what we've been showing so far.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, for doing this stuff, it's just slower. But
well, like the frustrating thing for me is I've been working on this for like 2 hours, and I've just now fully realized that maybe I'm using the wrong typology to solve this. Maybe it needs to be a different kind of building, which is not exciting, and feel like I've wasted a lot of time.
Yeah.
All right. What to do? 18 stacks of units. Maybe I just concentrate a lot of my one beds in one part of the building, and then on the top floor, we just won't have any. How about that? That's a good solution.
But it's always nice to keep those walls stacked for plumbing, just to toss that in there.
Oh no, I understand that. It'll be
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Yeah, get rid of these 3. Add 2 back in, and then
You're showing your Excel right now.
Oh yeah, thank you.
We have another question coming in. Is AutoCAD smart enough to count units?
Yeah, so what I do is I click on a block, and I have a shortcut that selects similar, and that gives me the count immediately, 47. But as far as like keeping a dynamic tabulation at all times, no, AutoCAD's not a database style tool. Does that answer? I think that answers that question.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like one of the things, like one of the impetuses for TestFit was, whenever you're spending most of your time just counting units, you're like, okay, what am I actually doing? I'm not really, I'm like not designing. I'm just working. I'm doing drudgery. All right, so we're up to 51 there, and then this is 26. All right, let's see. Let's see if this works. So my thought is I'm going to do 3 floors and then a 4th floor, but this floor doesn't have this bit. It's just that top bit.
And you're also going to cut some units out when you add those amenity spaces in that lobby leasing area.
That's what I was thinking, was cutting them out of the first floor. I was going to make a joke about throwing like a colo space down there, since nobody can go to work now. But just chop off half the first floor and make it like a call it you work instead of we work. And
yeah,
you stay at home and work.
Pretty much.
The math did not look good, so I'm going to do another change real quick. But yeah, we will add some amenities. I just want to get on target before I really go into the designing of the amenity areas. 1, 2, and there I could have just used an array command. Like, this is the thing. Like, look, I could have been faster if I used an array command, but my brain is I think my brain is moving slower than. Maybe I'm at the limit of my abilities. I don't really know. Okay, so I need 115, 102. Okay, that should be fine. One beds, we're at 158. That is about where I need to be. And then studios, we are at 57. And that's exactly where I need to be. Perfect.
Hey, I got another question for you. It says, so was TestFit a jump from AutoCAD as opposed to Revit or something else? I don't think I've heard the original story in relation to the tech that was being used.
Yeah, I can probably explain that at length. But the problem with planning in Revit, or at least, mind you, we started building TestFit, 4 years ago, is that it was very heavy, very hard to make quick changes, and it like you have to build the actual BIM in order to get the right results. So there is a level of commitment that you need to make in the BIM world to do it. And for a lot of designers, it's faster, especially if you're doing site planning, it's faster just to use CAD. I don't know. Aaron, maybe you might disagree with that, but what are your
No,
thoughts?
not really. Not really. I mean, so I love working in Revit every day, but the initial space planning that you do in a building, there's a wide variety of styles that people will try to do it in Revit, and it gets down to the technical nitty gritty of how you would do it in Revit. So if you would use walls and room objects or walls and area objects, and doing stuff like this where you've got units that are a fixed size and you kind of want to place them adjacent to one another and keep shifting them around, depending, unless you've carved out your strategy for how a company does that in Revit right out of the gate, it's really frustrating. And it comes down to some stupid stuff, like if you have a unit that's got 4 boundary lines and a room or an area inside it, and you copy them adjacent to each other, it starts throwing a fit over the boundary lines overlapping, and now you're just doing a bunch of cleanup that's actually not value adding at all. So a lot of our clients actually do it very similar to how you're doing it in AutoCAD now, where they have little blocks that are made or little components that are made that don't have any of the smart, the actual guts of the model. There's no walls, there's no doors. They just have little generic model blocks or mass blocks, and they just start copying and pasting them around just like you're doing.
Yeah, so like there, in my mind, there's, when you're planning, there's like no difference between Revit and CAD. You're still drafting shit.
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference there is so if you're doing it out of like, let's call them smart objects. Let's say that you've built families that are just empty boxes, just like you have in AutoCAD here. The benefit is and it's a very small benefit. It's just that the upside of doing it in Revit is it's counting all the blocks for you in real time, so you don't have to keep doing select similar. But that's a small benefit.
Wait, on that note, do you have to open up another view when you're doing that, or
you can keep it open on another screen. You couldn't a few years ago, but now you can just have it sitting on a second monitor, or you could just have it open and tiled at the same time. But again, that just happened in 2019 or 2018, the calendar year. But you've always been able to just have it counting automatically, and you could just control tab to the other view. But again, we're kind of splitting hairs, right? Because here's what I would say. The upside of doing it in Revit is it's counting the units for you automatically all the time. The downside is literally just the cursor responsiveness, like it's slower. And it's funny, when I go in AutoCAD now, that's still one of the very gratifying things about AutoCAD is, even though you have to draft way more stuff in AutoCAD than in Revit, it's just so much faster. Like, you feel better about yourself because you're moving so fast. It's it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So, Clifton, I got a question for you. What was your main drafting tool when you would start doing density studies?
Oh,
Would
CAD for sure.
It'd be CAD. Would you ever use like Excel or ArchiCAD or anything else?
I have site plan maybe 100 sites using Excel exclusively. Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm like proud of that, but I have a spreadsheet that you can like. It takes the width of the columns and stuff, and it gets it to scale. So like you're on a pixel scale. So like 1 pixel is a foot.
Wow.
Yeah, I tried a lot of stuff. Like believe me, before we started TestFit, I tried a lot of stuff so that I wouldn't have to start TestFit. And it was never like a good. It was never a good. I don't know, feeling. Wait, why is this? Oh, this is a 2-bedroom. Okay. I changed it at the last second. It was never a easy site plan in Excel, but it took care of the tabulation problem, which was what I was trying to solve. But then it's not like you build out these really extensive Excel sheets, and like it's almost like a dynamo graph in some sense, because you're the only person that really knows how the whole spreadsheet works. So trying to get scalability within the firm I was at, having other people use it was a hard problem. Nobody wanted to stop for 5 seconds and learn how to use Excel in a new way.
Right.
Which is, I mean, that's also like what we're experiencing today at TestFit is like, before coronavirus, people were like, well, we don't have any time to learn how to use this. I'm like, well, you don't have time to not learn how to use it.
Right. All right, I just had to send it quick. That's the crux of the issue I find is that even with what we do, it's like we're going to teach you, when we talk to architecture and engineering firms, we say we're going to teach you something so that you don't spend so many hours doing this monotonous work. And the only trade-off that you're going to make is there are now going to be rules to how you physically do the task. Like you need to click this particular button and it will automate stuff for you. Well, I don't want to click that button. I want to click it. I want to click whatever button I want. Okay, well then you have to do it manually for the rest of your life. I don't think that's fair. Oh my God, are we really having this conversation right now? So that's I mean, learning to use Excel. I mean, Excel does amazing things, but you have to know the rules for what you want to do in Excel. And I think space planning and laying out is no different. You can make Revit efficient at it, but it's much harder because you have to know exactly how you want it set up when you build the setup for somebody to do this. So I kind of tell folks, like, if it's me, obviously I would start in Revit and I would have little unit families and I would just plop them all over the place and start I work in a subtractive method. That's how I do my quality control. So like I'm sure at the beginning of this morning you knew how many units you wanted to have. I would literally line them all up outside the building and then move them in. That's just kind of how I work backwards until I see nothing. Like once my field is empty over there, I know I'm at the number I want to be at. But
So I think Matt was working the same way. Like we did, we did like a dry run of this last week just to try it out. And Matt,
yeah, I worked in the like identical way. So like I kind of figure out how many units I have per floor, and I'll straight copy those. If I need 18 one bedrooms, I put 18 one bedrooms. So then I have kind of like my as Clifton said, like recipe list, and then I start plugging those in, and once they're gone, it's like cool. I know I basically hit what I've needed.
It's kind of interesting. A lot of people in our industry or a lot of workflows in our industry are the same way. Like when I first looked at Assemble, like for doing element by element estimating, I was annoyed that you codify all of the elements in Assemble on an instance basis. Like I was like, no, I want to say like this window type goes in this division and that's that. And I was annoyed that like when I updated the model a week later, the new windows weren't coded, but the old windows were. I'm like, that's ridiculous. And then they showed me it's because you can turn off everything that's coded and you can see just what's left. And I was like, crap, that makes sense. And I said, oh crap, because like my whole argument had just gone out the window. And I was like, okie dokie. Aaron does not know what he's doing.
join the club. Nobody knows.
Right.
Nobody knows what they're doing. All right.
Hey, so I got another question that just came in.
Hey,
where
I'm
have you?
gonna take a 10-second bathroom break. Right back.
10-second bathroom break. We'll hold that one off. He needs some good hold music. That would be a great addition.
I was talking to James Benham. We just jumped on a Zoom meeting the other day just to kind of hang out while we were working. And so sometimes like when I'm working in Revit, similar to Clifton, I was like, I couldn't believe anybody would want to watch people work in Revit, but I'll jump on Twitch and I'll stream. And the bummer is you can't have voice interaction like this, but people can type in the chat and stuff. And Twitch is nice because you get kind of your own internal like sound mixer in OBS, so we could have background music playing. So James was showing me that because he's got an audio mixer on his desk, he can actually feed background music into Zoom, which is really cool.
Nice. Yeah, the live DJ also.
Yeah. This is kind of nice, It's although I drive my wife crazy because I listen to like a lot of instrumental, fast-paced music when I'm working just because it keeps me going. But it's the music can be a little stressful, like like the Man of Steel soundtrack. That doesn't exactly relax anybody.
Yeah.
So, but it keeps me going. So.
Yep. Music can almost act like a coffee. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
You can put
absolutely.
on like good music, and you're just like in your own zone, just going at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Have to have it. It's one of the nice things about being a small business.
What was the question?
Question was, where have you seen the highest absorption rate? Architects, GC design build, or owners/developers? Is that in relation to using TestFit?
It must be. absorption. Like, do I answer that question by like how people are using the software?
In relation to TestFit, it looks like.
I would say that if you play the numbers game, real estate developers look at way more sites than architects ever look at. So I think that skews the numbers because we have more, like by volume, our license checks, we have like more developers that are using it. But when you get files from architects that use TestFit, like they're really using all of like the whole application. When you look at the way that the developers use it, they don't use the whole application. So like a lot of the features that we ship these days are really geared towards architects, because they're the ones that are giving us the feedback. So I don't know, like, is that like a good? I think I answered that one okay.
No, that sounds right. So who would you say uses it more also?
I mean, I think
Really
developers. I think developers. I'll put my money on developers. 165. Guys, it's looking real good.
Those some nice floor plans you got going on here.
And I did the layering so that I could split them up like this. It's great.
Oh,
I was amazed to hear that, by the way, just about I don't want to say lack of adoption, but I remember John and I talking about TestFit the first time we saw one of the animations on Twitter, because we were like, holy crap, like, does it actually like work? And it does. But if I was still in straight architecture, like, it would be a no-brainer to me. I mean, and back then when it was just the original TestFit and it didn't have like, the other modules that you guys were working on, I was like immediately thinking of ways, like I was like, I'm going to hack the crap out of this and turn a 1-bedroom into a patient room, and I'm going to start planning hospitals. Like it just seemed like a thing. Like I was like, oh, we could have used this like 100 different ways to do cool stuff. And but I digress. I'm not in architecture anymore.
Yeah, so I've seen people use TestFit to lay out schools, and you can hack the software in interesting, interesting and meaningful ways. But it's like, it's not ready. It's not a generic solver for every building type. Like, I'm sorry.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
And like we're doing work right now to sort of pivot the company in that direction. Because we've seen, the multifamily side of what we do is profitable and makes sense. So, why don't we extend it out into other building types? And that's why we raise money. We didn't raise money because we could. We raised it for a purpose.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and Aaron got to see that side of me for a little bit. I think I called you one day. I was like, dude, what do I do? All right. So
I'm not a good person to give advice, because I mean, we have some apps, but we're not generating a big thing at the moment that, like, it's very, our lives are much simpler.
Our lives are much simpler. Nice. I need 3,500 square foot lobby leasing external to the building. What does that mean, external to the building?
Oh, I just went like on the outside edge, just to
okay.
make sure it was on the outside edge.
So I think, given the highway and the one directional nature of this site, like, I think actually you would like turn in, and maybe this spot right here would be a good spot for your leasing area. So what I'll do is I'll just use this magenta layer to do the amenity stuff. We need 3,500 feet. Okay. So Aaron, I made a comment on I did a thought leadership thing on LinkedIn. It's not something I normally would want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I was talking about architecture firm Brain Drain.
Was that the blog post or something else?
It was like it was on LinkedIn. It's like the only thing I've ever written on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, I remember reading it. The comments were epic.
Yeah, comments are great. But I said in my post that architecture is going to be like the future of architecture is like 10% of the building that is really well crafted and really like the amenity areas, like the arrival sequence. Like there's parts of what I would consider true architecture that are never going to go away. And then like that's what I'm saying is everything inside this box right here is absolutely going to be architecture crafted for the site for this very specific thing. But these one bed units, like they could have been used on 15 other projects.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're never going to walk in the same amenity space. It's not going to happen. And some people were really pissed that I said architecture is like the 10% of the building. That's what I got a lot of blowback for.
This is gonna be a weird segue, but I'll tell you something funny. Is when I was like super young, I read this series of sci-fi books, and they're about like way in the future, interstellar war, and all this stuff. And the whole reason I bring this up is in this book there is an entire civilization of people who exist only to fight in this war. There are no luxuries, there are no relaxation. There's basically you're born and then you go into a profession, whether it's as an actual soldier, as a technician, as an engineer, as an ammunitions person, whatever. And what's interesting about it is nowhere in this entire series of books, 60 something books, you don't ever hear anything about architecture. Obviously, I wasn't thinking of that when I was 12 when I was reading them. But what's the reason I like to bring that up when I talk to people now is I love our profession, but there's a very large extent of our profession that exists as a luxury thing. If you want to make completely dead, boring but functional buildings, a lot of it can just be automatic, right? So like design, good design is important, I think, but I just think we need to be realistic about what good design is, what things need to be rethought in every job and what things don't. I think architects provide tremendous value. And I would say that I don't think the tremendous, I want to say this carefully.
Yes, Aaron, be very, choose your next words wisely.
Yeah, I always got to be careful when I open my mouth. I mean, I think I think architects and engineers bring tremendous value to projects. I don't necessarily think the tremendous value they bring is in spending 5 days toiling over a space plan or a layout. I think it's coordination items, it's life safety, it's constructability, it's material studies and advancement of technology in making sure we don't have issues like we had in London where buildings are half burning to the ground over goofy facade elements that are on them and things of that nature. I mean, like I watch when my wife is doing coordination on her project. You and I have talked about like kind of TestFit as a software, and a lot of the software that I see on social media is interesting because we keep seeing these gifs of like, oh, look, here's this automatic thing that we made in school or whatever, and it does some neat stuff, but there's an asterisk on it like, oh, we just ignored all the structure. I'm like, that's not a little asterisk. Like that's like, hey, we got it to automatically lay out all these things, but we ignored these 5 critical elements of the building. Those 5 critical elements are not like oh, we have to figure that out later. That's like you're going to start over when you go to figure that out. Like it's going to fundamentally not work. So I mean, I think there's value in what professionals do in our industry. I think it's not, every day's tasks are not value adding. And I think we just need to be aware of that. Not every minute I spend on a project is valuable. I don't know. That's my spiel about that. I haven't gotten any hate mail yet, so I think we're okay.
I think we're also a very nice profession, right? Like you could say that, and there's gonna be a lot of people that disagree with you, but they're not gonna say anything. So, because like we're just nice, like we're just nice people,
Yeah.
Now, if you go to the job site, it's very different. All right,
I love going out to job sites. Those are my people. I'm a nuts and bolts kind of guy, so I love Like I was joking around earlier that like I'm kind of like the trash man because I'm cleaning up the trash on a project, but I really enjoy that, like helping guys and girls figure out how things actually get built. That's just fun to me.
Trash man.
I'm the trash man.
Was somebody else supposed to join us, Matt? Do you know?
Let's go see.
Yeah, I'm here. This is Adam.
Hey, Adam's here.
Can you see me, hear me, feel me?
Oh, there we go. Oh, he has art too in the background. I'm so jealous right now.
Maybe I should show. Maybe I should show.
Oh, that's cool. How old is that?
Oh man, I got a bunch of them. Probably 1920s.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
definitely a
All wood.
Yeah.
So
I'm not gonna lie, I watch a lot of American Pickers. That's the only reason I recognize it.
Oh, there we go.
I'll take a second from off the live stream to introduce Adam. So Adam, give us an introduction.
Oh wow, elevator speech already. So my name's Adam Wilbrecht. I'm with Cunningham Group. We're headquartered in Minneapolis. We have about 330 people going right now. We're in 6 U.S. cities. We do everything from K-12 education, higher ed, healthcare, multifamily housing, senior living. We also have a big hospitality. We do theme parks. We work with clients whose I can't discuss, but they have mascots with ears and
mouse related innuendo
and things involving outer space type things. Yeah, so it's pretty great firm. I've been with them for 28 years. I was the guy back in 1992 who got hired after the first Bush recession to teach everyone AutoCAD 11 and how paper space actually worked, which was really mind-blowing to people. I was also teaching
paper space.
Yes. The whole viewport thing blew people's minds. And my first job out of college was actually working for a Autodesk reseller teaching recently laid off Honeywell engineers how to do AutoCAD. And these are 55-year-old guys who've been hand drafting their entire lives. So, it's interesting now that we're in this age of BIM, and it was interesting to listen to the conversation you had with Christian earlier. Was that his name, Christian?
Yeah, Christian.
Talking about how many firms are still using AutoCAD, whereas we've been solid with BIM probably since 2009. We've been 100% Revit, coming up on 10 years now. So we have the thought of even going back to AutoCAD is almost impossible. We'd have to retrain our entire company.
The thought of going back.
Yeah. We have interiors on Revit. We've even brought landscape into Revit, and it's been a lot of heavy lifting to do that. But we're all in. So, but I don't know. I think it's game time. This feels like a Twitch stream. Is it time to kick over to Borderlands or Doom Eternal or something like that? Or
no.
Oh.
We're just like I said earlier, this is not like the most exciting thing you'll see today. Like we're actually sitting down and like doing actual work that people do in
I've been watching for about an hour and a half now, and there's been some great conversations, some great topics about nature of education, nature of employment, what the architect's role is going to be, who our market even is. It's even what Aaron was just talking about a few minutes ago. I know we're sort of at our own peril to say existential things about architecture, but it's also, I think there's also some things we can be looking forward to, but it's changes of services. So it's not just 1%. It's, everything's talking about circular economy, life cycle, things like that. It's really time to put in an inquiry about what is the role of the architect, what is the fundamental knowledge we have, and how can we amplify certain aspects of it, and then let certain pieces go, like construction documents are going to be more collaborative. We should be detailing with the person who's going to be building the system, the the detail.
Yeah.
And we have to front load so much information now. Like when the next ASHRAE comes out, the responsibility we're going to have to deliver a functional building. I mean, forget about doing a glass skyscraper in Phoenix anymore. It's not going to meet code.
I
But
would
right
say
now,
that's probably a good thing not to do a glass
yeah,
skyscraper in Phoenix.
yeah. I mean, right now we have the luxury of anything we design. All we have to do is put in some low E glass and a high efficiency mechanical unit, and we're going to meet code. But we're probably months away at this point from that no longer being reality. The design's going to have to perform. So that's where I'm really fascinated by tools like TestFit and things like that, where we can get to a design faster and then validate it for performance and cost and even constructability at a much earlier place, because we're going to have to. The worst case would be you finish DD and you com check it or something, and you realize you have a building that can't be built. It would be illegal. So, a lot of us old folks talking now, and so the altruism of our education and all of that has sort of been, pushed down by the realities of practice. But there's a lot of things to be excited about going forward, I think. But we have to rethink the whole thing, even our education. I think it's busted. The whole idea of having to impress a jury where you should be using them to get input that's useful versus, trying to just avoid punishment. It's never made sense to me.
So, Adam, something that really struck me in some of our discussions is like the nature of managing a firm that has, I think you said five generations of people working in it.
Yeah, we have 5 generations. The oldest generation is down to 1 or 2 people. Those are people who are over 70 years old, I believe. But we still got a few hanging in there. And then we've got Gen Z is definitely on board now.
Gen Z.
Gen Z was born after 1995.
95. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm on the tail end of millennials. I was born in 91.
Wow.
But I think a lot of the things, a lot of the characteristics of Gen Z I see in myself. Like, talk to millennials today. Like we're notorious about starting a job and like leaving after a couple of years. And it's like related to what, how do you keep, I mean, maybe this is a question for you, Adam, but how do you keep young people interested in architecture?
Yeah. Well, taking a step back from that, what's funny is it's boomers versus millennials and the Gen X. I'm solidly Gen X and born in 1969. And so I turned 50 last year, which was really horrible. But but we were the MTV generation. We were the low attention span. You have basically 3 seconds to get our attention, and then we're going to move on to something else, which usually meant flipping the channel because we had a remote control. So I definitely feel like Gen X probably sides with millennials more because we did practice with technology. The boomer generation. And I'm sure the comment chat's going crazy on that, perhaps. But
I don't know, Matt. What are they saying?
And it's funny because I feel like I'm right at the cusp. Like when I was hired in 1992, I got the first machine with a hard drive, and my job was to teach AutoCAD. So I was the technology generation, and so what I found over the course of the 90s was the elder generation was in this, I don't know what to call it, but they were emotional about it because all of a sudden all the work was inside the black box. They couldn't walk from table to table and see where their project was anymore. Yeah. So now they were relying on all us young punks to print things for them, to show them the status. And when stuff came out of that inkjet printer, it was just crazy sometimes. I mean, detail bubbles that were as big as your fist. We hadn't, the sense of scale was completely gone. And so I'm probably going too far down a rabbit hole right now, but
actually think it's a great point. Like thinking in terms of paper space. Because you're in the CAD world, it's harder for people to make the jump.
It was mind blowing.
Yeah.
These Honeywell engineers were crying literally at their training desk because it was so foreign to what they'd done their entire lives. And I think that's a story that I've kept with me throughout my entire career, is never become that guy who's obsolete because you failed to keep up with technology, changing times, the opportunities of the technology. TestFit, when you see it, it's just like you're emotional because, oh, that's so cool, it's so fast, but you've also codified, you've taken the art and turned it into a science or into an algorithm. And that gives you pause, like, well, wait a minute, what can we automate? And where is the real value we bring in our profession if we can automate these functions that we used to get compensated for, but now we won't?
Yeah, it's been a struggle for me. Like, I love architecture. I love the industry. I want to do something that would be like, I want the future of our technology to always leave the architect with a lot of dignity. Like, I don't want to just click a button and, the building has got construction documents ready to go. As cool as that would be, and it would be quite an achievement, I don't think it's actually what would be good for the industry or for the built environment, for that matter. So that's why TestFit is going to stay in feasibility. We're not going to be like a construction document generator. Right. Stay where we're at.
No, I remember talking to you when you were first getting going, and you weren't even sure if you wanted to market to architects because they were going to make all these design demands from your software when you were really just doing the math for developers, just visualizing a pro forma effectively. So yeah, I was honestly kind of shocked once he started making architectural concessions. But it was good for us because we, our firm, I want this adopted. It's we can't afford to. I mean, I love that you're doing this because it's just showing. I got a little PTSD here just seeing AutoCAD to begin with, but it's just showing how much effort, and you've kind of got this cooked in your head too. You're not feeling out 4 options here or something like that.
I'm just doing one.
You're just doing one.
Don't make me do more than one option.
Exactly. And because all these people are watching you, you're not screwing around and getting a cup of coffee and having a chat with someone else. Well, I guess you are with us here, but working at the same time. But,
I think we have an accurate simulation. Like, I did have a bathroom break. Yeah. I will say that people that do this all day, every day, are going to be much faster because, like, I haven't fired up CAD and done a manual test fit in about 2 years.
Yeah.
But
who wants to do this all day, every day?
I don't. Developers want you doing it all day, every day for free.
So. Yeah, they do. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm going to do some math real quick just to make sure that my unit mix and everything is looking good. So what I've done is I've organized it by layers, which is going to be really helpful in tabulating. And I'm just making sure that I'm getting all of the 2 beds in this extraction. Yeah. I'm at 117 2 beds, and I needed 115, so that's good. Let's see.
As long as you didn't copy any of those on top of each other, you're fine.
That's literally the worst thing about that. Even with parking garages, if you copy it over and you select similar, oh man, nothing's the worst when you call a client back and be like, so we have 20 less spaces because I forgot to delete a double parking space.
Yeah, when I first started working, my job was to do slot machine layouts because we did casinos.
What?
Oh, no.
Explain.
And that's how I would do the counts. Is I just put them on each slot machine was a block, and I just freeze out everything else and just do a window select and look at the count and down in the status bar, and that was it.
Like the amazing thing to me is I'm looking at the number, I'm like second guessing myself, and then I'm like, all right, wait, did I get the right count? So I'm going back through, I'm checking, yes, this was 117. All right, so let's check how far off we are. So we needed 66 studios. We have 58. We needed 143 one beds. We have 153. And we needed 115 two beds. We have 117. So I just need to exchange a couple of studios for one beds. And then I need 8 more studios. And I need 5 less one beds. So 5 one beds, turn them into studios. So I could just do it with one stack. Probably be fine. Yeah. When you like look at this scientifically though, Adam, like every click, right? Every orientation adjustment, every time you're panning, every time you're zooming out, it's just something that manual drafting forces you to do. That takes more time.
Yeah, even the fact that you've got angles in this and you have to shift your UCS over, and at some point you're going to have to flip all the studio blocks so that the tag reads left to right.
Yeah, I think there's a setting I can do to make it automatically mirror correctly. But for this, I don't think I'm going to spend time making it look nice. So there's 3 plus 3, so I'm at 61. That's 150. I need 5 more studios.
So you're gonna put this on the 3D solids next and elevate it?
Wait, what are you talking about? Look, we already have 3D.
Oh, do you?
Check it out.
There you go.
We're in 3D right now.
All the parking spaces are off the Z plane. All right.
I love AutoCAD 3D. One time when I was an intern, I entered the model and I set it to 3D for some reason because I was an intern, and I saved it and then I left the model and it was like this, and the PM opened it up and was so pissed. He's like, "Fix it. How do I make it go back?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just you click the top on the thing." He's like, "Oh, thank God."
So in panning in SketchUp is the same command as rotating in 3D in CAD. So I would be in SketchUp working on something, and I'd go try to pan in CAD because you get mixed up between programs, and then I would pan into 3D, and it would just freeze my whole file for a good bit because I just took all of that and rotated it.
Yeah.
So that was quickly unbound.
You should go into Paperspace and cut a viewport just so people understand why it was such a
Paperspace.
Yeah.
I hate Paperspace.
My first job for Disney, we actually had to dimension in Paperspace.
No.
So you'd have to zoom your detail just so, and then you'd have to dimension, and you couldn't even click the entities. You had to dimension in Paperspace.
You had to dimension in Paperspace.
You had to dimension in Paperspace. So you had to set your dim variables to the scale of the viewport and then lay out the dimensions. All annotations had to be in Paperspace in the old Disney rule book. It was crazy. It was if your model moved a little. Hey, Evan.
Hey.
Oh, Yeah.
going
So
on?
do you guys know each
Let's
other?
overlap with Evan. He's awesome.
Oh,
Thought I would
awesome.
just join in a little early so I could say hi to Adam too.
Awesome. So we've been slowly marching across from east to west, the U.S. So the first two guys, Boston and Philadelphia. Then Aaron he's in Dallas, and then Minneapolis. Or Adam, are you in Minneapolis?
Yeah.
All right. And then Evan is in not L.A. but kind of L.A.
Close enough. Yeah.
uh,
LA County.
Yeah, the most populated county in the country. Is that right? I can't remember.
Maybe. Yeah,
That's right.
probably.
Shouldn't you be wearing a mask, Evan?
In my own house, maybe. I do have 4 teenagers, so you never know.
4. How many refrigerators do you have?
Yeah, we go through a lot of food. We just go to the store a lot, which is difficult right now.
So we are modeling a building manually in CAD, and it is a disaster.
It looks good, man.
Yeah, I can't convince him to switch over and play some Doom or something.
In there, it looks awesome. It's just like you're on
There's
speed.
weird cursor going on.
So I'm gonna flip back to Excel. I'm gonna spend maybe Evan. You get to be the fun guy that gets to start when I'm almost exclusively going to be Excel moving forward.
Sweet.
You're a mushroom, Evan. You're a fun guy.
Oh man.
I've got to tabulate all this stuff. So what I do is I'm going to copy all my geometry, and then I'm just going to delete it as I tabulate it. So that way I know I've gotten everything. So 2 beds. My typical 2 bed, I have 102. 102, and it's area.
Hey Clifton, I have a question. How do you remember what to do in AutoCAD nowadays?
Dude, actually, I drafted out. We just my wife and I, we just bought a house, and I drafted out our house yesterday. First thing I ever done for my wife related to what I'd like trained to do, and she was like, "Oh, great, thanks," and I was like, "Wait, this is the first time I've ever done anything for you like this." And she was like, "Great, thanks." I was like, "Wait, shouldn't you be really like excited that I got to draw this?" I was really excited about it. She was less excited.
So you're saying you've like recently brushed up on your AutoCAD skills again?
Yeah, but I didn't have I didn't do layer control correctly.
She wouldn't care, obviously.
It was a disaster. Yeah. Like if an intern gave that to me, I'd be like, "What is this nonsense?"
What?
But since I did it for myself, I guess I'm okay with it. So I'm grabbing all my corner units that are weird shaped, and then now I'm going to tabulate those differently than my typicals. So I have this outside corner 2 bed, 1442. So hopefully nobody's going to go back and do a BOMA to make sure I did it right. OC1 2 bed.
That's what everybody who drafts these says.
So Evan, what's going on with you guys? What's been the playbook for coronavirus? What's going on?
So I don't know, a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe I want to say the 18th was the last day any of our offices were open. We've got 7 offices. And so now we've got 360-ish people working from home, I think. Something probably, a lot of firms like us have had to deal with getting as much into the cloud as possible. We weren't really expecting to do that this year. We didn't need to do that this year. There's a lot of different ways to get people to access their Revit models or whatever from the cloud or just from remote locations. For us, the best way to do that was to move everything to BIM 360, which was a big expense. But when you think about that many people losing like a day of work, it's not a big expense at all. So that was really it was like, yep, we're doing this. We just have to do it. And so our digital practice team, just worked nonstop for a week to get everybody into there, and we built a Power BI dashboard so that everybody knew where their project was in that process, to kind of just open it up and be totally transparent about it, which is important when you've got a lot of different teams out there who are like, where's mine? Just making sure that all of their managing principals were kind of organizing what the priorities were so that we knew what order to do things in, and successfully got everything on there, and everybody's working. So I think we've transitioned relatively well. And I have to say, like, personally, I feel like I'm working and getting more done now than I ever have. Part of that's urgency, but also part of that is just that I feel like there's just a need to move quickly right now and make sure that everybody else can be productive. And through that, I've been super productive.
That's a great story, Evan.
I wonder what the BIM 360 team is going through right now. Like, I'm sure they've never seen anything like this before.
I've talked to them actually. I met with AIA with them just over a week ago. At that point they had a 400% increase in hosted projects within a week. 400%, and they're handling the load just fine. Actually, they're saying Amazon Services that hosts all of it is really taking on the burden of spinning it up. It's just up to them to plan the appropriate buy-in basically on Amazon to handle the load. So I was really impressed by that. I mean, BIM 360 is actually a pretty decent product, and we were a little luckier with the with the COVID event in that we already had about 90% of our projects already on BIM 360. So it didn't take much to get the last few on.
So what about like big organizations at scale like HMC and Cunningham? You've got VPN concerns. Has that been
none at all?
None at all?
No, VPN. BIM 360 doesn't require VPN, so everyone can just use their home internet, and it's incredibly latency tolerant because it works like BIM server, and the data just basically moves in the background as a background function process.
Yeah, that was the reason we went with it too, was just to keep people off of our network. And I think one of the issues that was a concern was just security with everybody working remotely. And I think the latency that Adam brought up, a lot of people don't understand working from home. And so if we were to try to have people access their stuff over VPN, the latency issues would either lock or corrupt their models. Or it had the potential to, and so we really were trying to. We made sure, like, the very first announcement that went out was, it's prohibited to access your Revit model over VPN. You will wait for us to go on BIM 360, and we had to move. I want to say we probably had less than a third of our projects on BIM 360. Some of our studios, it was most of their projects, but other ones had none. So we now have like 150 projects in there, within a week. And it's not an easy setup to do. I think our checklist is 3 pages long to get every project onto BIM 360, and then also into our other dashboard utility, so we can make sure that everything's working correctly. But our team handled it really well, and it is incredibly lightweight. Our bandwidth at our server in our home office is running at 25% capacity because we don't have people accessing it all the time.
Just people need to just check out their Revit license, and then they can shut their VPN down, can't they?
Yeah. Actually, I think ours is set up. They don't even have to do that over VPN.
That's great.
Which is nice.
For us, it's Microsoft Teams and training that. Everyone's all of a sudden discovering, these persistent chat programs to stay connected with the team. And let's face it, Microsoft Teams has got some cool features, but it's not fully baked, especially if you're an IT professional managing it on the backside and all of that. So our SharePoints are probably going to be clogging up with people putting every single file imaginable that should be on the server into Teams.
Yep. Yeah, we had luckily launched Teams a few months ago, so everybody was already on it. But I think all of a sudden it's like, where do I put my files?
Hmm.
So if I'm not accessing those over VPN, where do they go? How do I share with my team? So we did a bunch of work on our intranet to make sure that everybody knew where to put stuff. What's OneDrive for? What's SharePoint for? What's Teams for? Like making sure that everybody knew how to deal with that. It's kind of the change management, information management that had to happen quickly with a firm our size.
Yeah, I'd love a copy of that. That's
I saw a really funny meme. It was like, so what led to the digitization of your business?
Yeah,
It was like, you know, consult. Like it was three options, like with the bar chart. It
yeah.
was like
yeah,
consultants, like the need
It
to
was
innovate.
CEO, CTO, and COVID-19.
Yeah, COVID
yeah.
19. It's like 90%.
Well, did you see Hilda's quote, Evan? This is Hilda Espinal at Canon Design. She's the CTO there, and she basically said that all of our future of work planning all got consolidated into 24 hours.
Yep. Yep. Totally.
This is how
I mean, it was
innovation
funny.
happens.
We're going through like corporate goal setting right now for everybody in the firm, and I'm like, well, digital practice just did some pretty major stuff. I think we could be done for the year.
Yep, I agree. Now
Need
it's
a
just
break
work
after this.
strategy. Yep. All right. Well, Cliff, I need to jump, but thank you so much for the invite.
Yeah, thanks for bringing your perspective.
And this has been great. You should do more of these. Frankly, I think you have something here.
You should draw on CAD more often.
No. This will be the only one I'm doing because the next one is going to be other people doing it.
All right.
See you, Adam.
Enjoy.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Peace. So, Evan, are you guys? Do you still have some studios working from AutoCAD, or is it a full transition over to BIM?
That's a good question. I think it's very minimal. We've decided, we're only going to upgrade AutoCAD every 3 years now. Not going to keep up with the latest greatest there. Obviously, we keep up with the Revit stuff. I think officially we've been Revit since 2009. That didn't mean that everybody in the firm followed that necessarily, but that was the intent. So we've been doing it for a while, not since the beginning, but originally HMC was we've been around for over 80 years. So we were a hand drafting shop, right, that went into like some crazy machine that sat in a corner inside a glass room that no one was allowed to touch. Like that was the first CAD machine. And then so
Crazy
it was like
machine.
It was
like
like the golden calf, right? I mean,
like an IBM thing that you would see in the NASA movies.
And now the operator will enter the room. Yeah,
that's insane.
It was very. It's just the stories that I've heard about it. It's pretty funny. And then when I joined in the firm, I was an intern in college out here, and I joined the firm as the intern, and we were doing MicroStation at the time. And everybody had those big tablets on their desk with the puck. Have you ever heard of the puck? Where it's like it's not a mouse. It's got like these specific function buttons on it, and there's this crosshairs with a little magnifying lens on a tablet that had a grid on it. It was pretty crazy.
Wait,
so
I'm gonna have to see this like in real life.
Yeah. So I bet if you look it up, it's just like it looks like a big Wacom tablet, but it had this wired kind of mouse-like thing, let's call it, attached to that, and you could basically lay a piece of paper on it and trace it by using that little crosshairs and thing. But then later it just became like the surface that you would mouse on, and you would still use this puck to kind of draw in MicroStation. And that's when I joined the firm. So it was all 2D MicroStation, and I was one of the first students in our college to actually get into 3D, and back then it was Form Z and AutoCAD 3D, more Form Z than AutoCAD. And then I had left the firm after 4 years, so I interned for 2 years, and then I worked there as a designer and a web designer and a graphics person, and anything. I worked in the blueprint room. I did all that kind of crap. And then when I left the company after 2 years after I graduated, I went and did a bunch of different stuff. I worked for Apple. I did visual effects. I did design build. I did fabrication, a bunch of stuff. And then ultimately went back in 2007. And through that time, they had transitioned to AutoCAD. And we were right at the end of that before we transitioned into Revit. So our firm has seen it all. And it's pretty interesting to kind of hear the old stories from the people who've been there for over 30 years and have gone through all of those transitions. Because I think I just hit 15 years total, or almost 16 years total there. But so I haven't gone through all of those things, but it's been quite a story. But what's interesting to me is like it's just not that different, right? It is the digitization of the pencil. What you're doing right now is just you're drawing. It's just the version that anybody can make a drawing look good in instead of just architects.
Ooh,
Yeah, I like that.
brutal.
Well, what's funny is like, everybody said like, oh, this is going to be fantastic. It's going to get more accurate. And what, accuracy was never even a concern with hand drawing. It was just like you would write the word, the number and the dimension string that it was supposed to be. Even if because your line weight was whatever the pencil, however you drew it, it was more art than science at that point. And now, well, and then CAD came along and just made it so anybody could make a good looking drawing. And I don't think architects really saw that coming, right? It was like, this is a great tool, technology, yay, layers, and then ultimately paper space and all these things and sheets and separate files. Multiple people could work in them on different views. But man, a drafting service could make as beautiful a set of drawings as you could, right? And charge half the price.
Yeah.
So that democratization, which is continuing to happen today, even with TestFit, is making tools available to anybody. And what's interesting to me is that architects continue to look at this at like, how can we sharpen our business model? How can we compete? And the business model just simply has to change, period. Like that's all it is. You can't keep looking at it as the same business.
Yeah, from my experience at TestFit, what I like the way that I'm looking at the future of architecture is like we got to start teaching kids in architecture school how to code. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're gonna get around that. Like you're not gonna
Right.
be able to get around it. Like even if you're like designing, the most beautiful of cathedral buildings or something, you still need to know how to. Well, you still need to know how to code.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's not just the business models that have to change, but it's the educational models too, though, right? Because now you're even saying, well, students who go to architecture school aren't taking business classes. Well, it's like because they don't even have enough time to do the design classes that they've all been teaching forever, right? So how are you going to fit in business classes? Well, then how are you going to fit in coding classes? That the curriculum has to be way more agile than it is now to be modified. It seems to me though like this is the perfect time to do that because now it's not about physical space anymore. It's not about the studio. Everybody's working from home, even the students, right? So if it's not about the studio, what's it about? And you take this as an opportunity instead of a detrimental thing. And this is when you retool for code. This is when you retool for scripting, all those kinds of things.
So, but I think there's like an existential crisis with like specifically architects that have been architects for 20 years, 25 years.
Yeah.
If you were to ask them, hey, I want you to go to AU and I want you to learn how to use Dynamo, like that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So like in our firm, what we've done is we just created a team that's who the team is. It's those people. So we do have a place in our firm where we do send people to AU to learn Dynamo, or we do send them to a course to learn Python. And it's expected of them, right? Because we've created this space, but it's not everybody. And it's definitely not happening on like the design staff or the production staff. And so the way that I kind of think of it with us is like digital practice at HMC is eventually it's just practice. It's just the first version of the next version. And we're doing it inside instead, which is because if we don't, there's not going to be a business, I don't think, in the future. So if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it, or you're going to do it when it's too late.
That's kind of funny. Like you're doing digital practice, but more
But
and
it's just
more,
practice.
it's just practice.
Yeah, exactly. We just call it that now so that people can identify with it and they understand what it is. Because
Like, oh, you're a BIM guy.
yeah, you're the like it's the old CAD monkey or the CAD jockey or whatever. Now it's this.
Yeah. So, Matt used to work at a firm that I think they're almost like maybe exclusively in AutoCAD, but they do like the most volume of apartment units in the country,
Hmm.
and they do it all in CAD.
Yeah, I think we had probably 2 or 3 teams that were like purely Revit, but really the majority of it was all AutoCAD.
Well, I mean, honestly, like the deliverable is still drawings, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That hasn't changed. Probably won't ever change.
I hope it does, man. I feel like if it doesn't, then what's all this for, right? Like you can embed so much information in elements and models that for us the goal is model-based delivery, at least in the not too distant future. But the agencies for us is the holdup there, right? But again, I feel like we're in this kind of opportune moment when everybody's going through this crisis together. Everybody's working from home. How can we take this as an opportunity to say, hey man, let's redefine the rules. Let's make the rules work for now instead of the past.
Yeah, now is a great time when we're and if we are gonna have a downturn, which I guess people are saying it's gonna happen. Retooling is what you should be doing. Like,
Yeah.
I would encourage firms to reach out to us right now and figure out like 5 things that they spend a lot of time doing. If it's if you want TestFit to work in office buildings, now would be a great time to get us to focus on that, because we also just raise money, and like we have this opportunity to basically hire engineers to build the next generation of tools, in addition to the guys that are already working on it right now. So I mean, if you guys want us to work on healthcare, which I think you guys
already knew that.
Yeah, I already knew that.
Put us
That was also that was a suggestion in chat as well.
What do a healthcare fit out?
Healthcare, yeah.
Well, yeah, and we've talked previously about healthcare, but we also talked about student housing. We do a lot of, there's a lot of repeat boxes and units and stuff like that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it seems like a kind of a progression for you guys.
We'll have some news on that, I think, in a few weeks, with some new tools we're releasing.
It seems promising with the way that you guys made it so you have editable units to start to go down that direction. For us, it's always going to be a discrete number because we get a program or we develop a program with the client, and it's not about maximizing something on a site. So I think that for us is probably the more, we want to use a tool like this for form finding as much as we want to just make sure that all the boxes are in there.
Right.
And not so much about making everything pencil out for cost, because we're not developers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was something that was kind of funny to me, is like, when you're working in the commodity sort of multifamily space, you're never really given a program. You're just told, do these kinds of units.
It's all about maximization, right?
Yeah.
Optimization.
Yeah. Which for the purists in architecture is like, wow, what a heartless way to approach
Well, I mean,
project.
doing public work, a lot of our stuff is about optimization and efficiency as well, right? Like having really tight corridors, and what's funny is now, like with this COVID stuff, I kind of wonder, is that going to continue to be the model?
Tight
Is it
corridors?
really one size kind of fits all for a classroom? I mean, as like that architectural purist you were just talking about, man, like a rectangle or a square box is probably not the best learning environment in the world, right?
Yeah.
But for a lot of these public entities where it's all about maximizing the dollars they spend because it's tax money and it's bond money and stuff like that, it really does come down to that. So, I mean, that we are dealing with some of those realities too. But as architects, man, we want to provide the best learning environments and the most efficient building, how can we start to kind of play with those things that are sometimes at odds, and come up with interesting outputs and ideas that can really inspire people to want to build better. I think that for us is really the intersection of what we do.
Amen, brother. Amen. All right, I've finished tabulating. I'm not going to go into more detail on the tabs than I am currently, but I think we are done enough. I'm not going to create PDFs. I could do that, but I hate paper space more than
Me too. Oh my god.
more than anything in the world. And I think Adam was like, "Oh, I trained people how to use paper space like
Yeah.
back in the day."
Here we go. We got James joining us now.
Hey, James.
Greetings and salutations.
Hey. Do you know Evan Troxel?
Never met.
I have not met him.
So, Evan, meet James.
Hey, James.
Howdy.
James, could you introduce yourself while I try to do some Excel stuff? Thanks.
Yeah, sure. James Benham, CEO of JB Knowledge. We're a 200-employee construction and insurance software company headquartered in College Station, Texas. And we built a system called Smart Bid that ended up bidding out about a third of all work in North America for 12 years. I sold it a year and a half ago to iSquareFoot, Construct Connect. And we also have two other products that we sell now after post Smart Bid sale, and do consulting and host of the Content Crew podcast, and also the Content Roadshow when travel is allowed. We do that. And so we've been on the air with our podcast for about 4.5 years, but just under 600,000 listens. So that's what we do. We build software, we build products, consult, build custom software, and then we do podcast and roadshow.
That's awesome, man.
One of the things that we do on the side too is a podcast, so it's cool to hear that there's other podcasters here on the TestFit show today.
Yeah,
Contact Crew's pretty good.
ArcaSpeak podcast.
ArcaSpeak. Oh yeah. Evan, I definitely want to be on your podcast at some point.
You got it, man.
That's like the ring of the TestFit show. That's pretty cool. Like it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the TestFit show. All right, so to get James caught up, we use AutoCAD for about 3 hours to generate this study, which is what I'll call it, like a test fit or a site plan feasibility study. And back in the program, which I don't know if y'all are am I presenting my screen? Which
I see AutoCAD. No, I see Excel.
You see Excel, okay. So now I'm just doing my final checks. We were supposed to hit 330 units. We got 328. We were supposed to do 950 average. We're at 947, which is pretty good. And our building is, for a wrap, this is pretty good for an efficiency number. So I'm happy with where we're at. We did the lobby correctly. We did the right size for all this stuff. So I think the simulation was pretty good. To say it takes about 3 hours to get something presentable for a client. So I'd like to switch gears real quick, and we're going to use TestFit to do the fit out that we just did.
So you did all the you did all the work manually in CAD. So I saw you had CAD open.
Yep.
And then you manually keyed it into Excel.
Manually, right? Manually. So
he did all that while having conversations with all of us too. So
yeah,
multitasking for the win here.
He's a multitasker. I mean,
yeah.
I got to tell you, I have a tough time doing that. If you would have asked me to have conversations while writing code,
no way.
Probably not. You know, probably not.
Good thing I don't write any code. I've got Ryan to do that.
Geolocation.
Yeah, I can write code to techno. But that's about it.
Wait, did you guys hear that? I don't think you heard it. It probably only.
I heard it. Wait, they got Ryan to do it?
So
That's all I heard.
we released a version of TestFit for April Fool's yesterday that includes sound effects.
Oh yeah, no, we can't hear your sound effects over it right now though. They're pretty funny though. There's a bunch of hidden Easter eggs, so
Yeah. We'll
click
let
all the
those.
buttons.
I'll leave them on for like maybe 5 minutes, but they're pretty obnoxious. All right, so I'm just gonna draw the same property line in that we drew on the other in AutoCAD, and then.
Hey, do you mind if I just hang out for a couple more minutes and watch this part?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
hang
no.
out. Yeah.
Stay on. Yeah, for sure.
This is why we're doing it.
Yeah, the CAD part was 3.5 hours. This part 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. It's not
All
gonna
right.
take long.
Don't as we'd say in Louisiana, don't miss the denouement, my friend. Don't miss
the denouement.
the
What
unraveling.
would be great is if Clifton actually didn't know how to use TestFit. Somebody else.
He makes me do it for him.
He's like, I'm just the CAD guy.
Now, hold on, Clifton. How much setup did you do though? Because you just loaded some. I mean, I've used TestFit and it didn't all populate that fast. So how much setup did you do before you opened TestFit?
I didn't do any setup other than
I say you hit the reset button and do it again. It was so
okay.
fast.
All right. I reset the workspace. I typed in the coordinates. I drew the site, and then it populated from our defaults. And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna check our configurator to make sure that we're matching everything that the client has requested. So the unit mix and stuff. Now I'll spend a couple minutes plugging the actual numbers in. So. The studio weight was 20. The studio average was 650. The A areas are weight 45%. And then this is 850. We're almost there. 35. Okay, that's good. And then this is 1250. Parking ratio is about right. So I don't know, James, 10 seconds to set it up. Not too long.
Okay. But you already had multifamily defaults set and configured, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And did that end with the program, or did you have to set those defaults up after you installed TestFit for the first time?
So you can use our default presets. We call them presets, where it just sets the whole workspace to do one type of building. Here I can do a generate from presets.
Generate more schemes than the mind can comprehend.
So we have lots of presets you can start from, but most firms, they typically build out their own that have very specific parameters to them. So I don't know if that helps you.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're at 388. We want 330 units, so we need fewer units. Our parking deck is taller in this model. Should be fine.
We need the amenity spaces.
Yeah, amenity spaces might do it. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to
manual mode.
And I'll just remove some of the stuff that doesn't really work. And then I'll match it back up to what we generated in AutoCAD manually, just to give a comparison at 356 units. So our unit average configurator, I could just slide it a little bit. So there you have it. Takes 10 seconds to do it in TestFit.
But wait, if it was only in 3D, like maybe then you could sell me on this tool.
Oh, if only we had 3D.
Yeah.
3D context buildings.
Like context around it. And like a shadow analysis that you could, show your client why they shouldn't build courtyards the way they do.
Yeah, it's like you have a courtyard configuration on this guy, and then next to you, you have a multifamily complex that has a very 1990s, parking in between each building type of configuration. So
yeah.
So how do you change the style of building? Let's say I want to keep the unit average, but I want to change the style of building so we don't have all these courtyards.
Yeah, so I would add another, like, this is a thing that we spent 3 hours getting one iteration in CAD. So now we can do like a what if analysis. So, what if we actually did surface parking here? And I got to go
Manual mode.
trash my manual stuff. So what if we did a surface park deal? What would that look like? 200.
Same number of spaces. Yeah.
No. So we're at 224 units here and 344 units here. So the unit differential is substantial.
Yeah. So there's your those what if scenarios are called schemes.
Yeah, we call them schemes. Yep.
Yeah.
So you could increase floor count or whatever, but
yeah,
then you'd have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could increase, but like the moment you start adding floors to this, it's going to start dividing
because you got to increase parking.
Yeah,
right?
you've got parking concerns
Yep.
that you need to match.
Yeah. Because you have that's in your zoning profile, right? The number of spaces required per unit.
It's not a zoning. Well, we could add that to a zoning profile, but right now it's just driven by the configurator, which is comparing
your parking ratio. Yeah.
Parking versus building.
I spent a good bit of time as a planning and zoning commissioner here, and then 6 years in city council discussing parking ratios. And, yeah. I was screaming at my city staff when my last year in office because I knew about TestFit by that point. We just spent $250,000 with an architecture firm to produce 3 iterations that we could have done in 1 minute on TestFit, and like this. It really irritated. I was pretty irritated. I was like, this is a giant waste of time. So the courtyard. So like, what about like other styles other than this?
Yeah, so you could do a podium fill, which is like probably the highest density. Actually, thinking back to this site, how you would actually go about doing it instead of doing a wrap, I might split it up into two deals. I'll do a structured fill on maybe the southern half to do some higher density, and then we might do a lower density deal on the northern half. But we'll do structured fill here, and then we'll add, we'll do like a 5/2, 5 levels with 2 levels above. And so you can see the difference here. So I'm at 317. So I can do 317 units in a higher density configuration with less land. So your land cost is probably what you're focused on. So if your land cost is more expensive than your structured parking, then you would go with this configuration. But if it's the opposite, you might go with this configuration.
Which puts the garage at the ground level, and then your courtyard sitting on top of the garage, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're getting into more building types as time goes on. But really it's what is the relationship of the parking to the multifamily, and that's how all these typologies get driven. There's variations on variations on variations. Like you could also run it from we just want to do a perfect rectangular parking garage. So we call that a structured rectangle. We're going to place it down here. And then this will show your client, okay, if we do the most efficient garage we possibly can on a 5/2, we'll get 156 units.
Yeah.
But all of these in my mind are going to have, they're going to have a second, site.
Solve multiple sites.
Right. Like you're going to have phase 1, phase 2.
Yeah.
When you're in higher density, but when you're in lower density like this, it's probably just one phase.
Cool, man. I got to jump off, but thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, Evan, great having you. Nice talking to you.
You too.
Stay healthy.
You too.
So James, what are you guys up to? Everybody sheltering in place and
yeah, we've a couple hundred people sheltering in place. I'm at my home office. I was going to tell you, if you want, since you did it in CAD and then you whipped out TestFit and did that in about 2 minutes, I can just do it in Lego really fast. Can you see my?
Yeah, so I'll flip it to your screen. If you share your screen, we can see it.
Well, I mean, it's on my webcam, but it's
Oh.
this, yeah.
All right, wait, hang on. Let me flip the Chrome. Talking heads. All right, cool.
Yeah, so there's my whole Lego set from my childhood.
This
and
this is how you're spending your days. I'm playing Legos.
well, after there, you can see it behind me. See, look.
Oh,
All
that's
right,
awesome.
so I'll model that in Lego. It'll take me about 30 hours, and it'll look great. See, interactive 3D model.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
So
that's
do you scale the bricks though? Like, is it 1 foot is equal to one like?
Yeah, Lego's at some strange scales. Not every set isn't the same scale, which is an irritating thing about Lego.
Yeah.
I've been a hardcore Lego builder my entire life, but I haven't picked them up in a few years, and so we're quarantined. I've got 2 daughters, and my younger daughter is particularly fanatical about kind of anything I'm into, and she goes, "Hey, can we break the Legos out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like what else do we have to do after hours?" So we're rebuilding. I kept every Lego my parents ever bought me, so I have like the airport and the seaport and the police and fire, and so we're rebuilding the whole city. And like the really cool thing is, I went and bought no, I didn't buy them. Online there's a website that has every it's called brickinstructions.com, has every instruction set for every one ever made. And
oh yeah.
So we just downloaded all the old instruction sets, and we're like building them. I realized I customized some of my build outs, so I'm decustomizing them and doing a standard 2 spec build out of the whole city.
So to spec build out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're doing the DFMA but IRL but with your kids.
Correct. And we talked about that. So we talked about prefab and like, okay, we're gonna make it over here, and then we're gonna kit it, and we're gonna bring it over there. And so they love it. So we're having a great time. I mean, JB Knowledge, we're writing software, right? So
Yeah.
we went all work at home in about 24 hours. We have 177 software engineers, and
oh my gosh,
it took a little while for us to get everybody properly secured and VPN'd, and we did a lot of prep work. But when we issued the order, it was 24 hours, and then we were all online working from home and writing code. We're using the hell out of all of our collaboration products. Luckily, we've spent the last few years moving to laptops from desktops and moving to cloud, all cloud-based, a bunch of cloud-based authentication. And so the nice thing is we've got a really good set of tools already that have lent well to this. And so we've been able to continue to produce code and deliver all of our sprints for our custom clients that we build custom outsourced software development for. And Smart Compliance, TerraClaim, our 2 big products, have stayed on the rails on their development releases. And we're doing it to it. It's when you got a bootstrap company and no funding behind it, then you have no backstop. And so fortunately we are pretty obsessive about saving money. And so we've always, I guess I started the company right before 9/11, and I started April 16th of 01. And then the .com bust hit and 9/11 hit, and work dried up. And then I started SmartBid right before the stock market collapse in 08 with Lehman Brothers, and we had to bootstrap a construction software product in a declining revenue environment. I mean, so it's been a fascinating 19 years, and this is adding to the story.
It's really exciting me for the next 6 months.
Yeah, it's business can be a complete. You can take it off that editor screen.
Oh yeah, you don't want to see your face anymore.
Business can be a very interesting thing. Building technology, it's a lot of fun. And that it's kind of hard to remember. I think what all of our customers have to deal with sometimes, because for a tech company, going work from home is a non-event.
Yeah,
I mean, software developers generally prefer dark, closed rooms that are cold with no natural light. So this is like straight up their alley. Whereas, builders have to build things in a location. So
yeah, I was checking in with our engineers, and they're like, nothing has changed for me. This is fine. Like,
yeah,
okay.
just know about your customers, and like I was thinking about lean a lot because I'm a big Paul Akers fan and 2-second lean, and he revolutionized his manufacturing facility. He owns a manufacturing company that makes parts for woodworkers, and he left the linear Henry Ford style assembly line model, and really went to each person has their own pod where they make the product from beginning to end. And he kind of broke his whole assembly line, and 2-second lean is just a great bible for lean for anybody, in particular in construction or software. And I was thinking how amazing that is, because he has social distancing down pat, because instead of workers working right by each other on these assembly lines, he's got them separated out already, and each one runs their own pod, and it's a much more efficient way of producing product.
Is it really though? Like
it is. He ran the numbers. He did. You have to read the book and watch his videos, but he left the assembly line and said, that doesn't work as well as these lean manufacturing principles. He went to Japan and studied how they did it, and he re-geared his whole manufacturing operation. It's really amazing.
So there was something that we were doing in real estate development several years ago when I was working, and the idea was you would have like specialists at every phase of the process. So like for feasibility and planning, like I was the guy in charge of doing that, but I would never do anything past that. And what we found was there was all of this sort of project level knowledge that is just lost whenever you're handing the project to somebody else. So I wonder if there's not a component of that in, as applied to manufacturing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think, sorry, you cut out in the last part. What was the question?
Oh, I was just saying that assembly line style efficiency is almost not as efficient even in the architecture world. Like you kind of need people married to a specific project because they know everything about it. And so if you're going to take them off that project, you're going to lose a lot of embedded knowledge.
Yeah, that's actually what Akers argues. He says when one person owns the entire project, the entire product from start to finish, they own the quality. They understand how it's built. They have all of the, and so what he argues and he uses data and profitability to prove it. So he's a data guy too. Is that when he switched from his workers just turning a screw all day to actually building the whole product, his output increased, and of course he had to do a lot of other things around it, right? He really drove lean, and that's what I think that's what excites me about TestFit too, is that it's the ultimate lean tool for design. I mean, holy crap! You just took 3.5 hours and turned it into 3 minutes of work, and then 3.5 hours for one iteration, right? And so there's just I think, and what he says is that people, that humans, his quote is, humans are 24/7 waste generators, and we are. And so he says, like, his mantra is fix what bugs you, and improve efficiency by eliminating waste. And I think people get emotionally attached to the tasks they do and will refuse to admit their waste, because then it would devalue their work and thereby themselves. And
or software providers get emotionally attached to their offering.
Well, of course they do. They get financially attached, but they also get very emotionally attached. I mean, it's hard to let go of a product. It becomes your baby. TestFit will become your baby.
Yeah, it's not already. It's already my baby.
And then one day something will come along that renders TestFit obsolete and irrelevant, and it'll be hard for you to accept that. It'll either that, or you'll create something that will make it obsolete and irrelevant. And even though you created your own disruptor, you'll still feel emotionally attached to it. We'll have a tough time setting it aside. I mean,
yeah.
I've been through 20 years of this at JBK, and then I've been writing software for 30, and I'm still emotionally attached to the very first invoicing module I built in 1993, and I mean,
you like brush off that code sometimes and look at it.
yeah. So I found, I don't think it's here. I think it's at my office. I have one of the original floppies, 5 1/4 of some of the original code I ever wrote in GW Basic.
Wow.
Yeah, man. The first product I ever built with JB Knowledge was the ERP that we still use today, Smart Enterprise. But it's now gone through 2 iterations. Show me something else fun with this. Let's see what else we can do. I mean, you obviously just schooled yourself.
Manual mode.
You took 3.5 hours into 2 minutes, and then you said, and then you showed multiple iterations and shadowing in 3D. You brought in Google Earth imaging. I'm guessing that's Google Earth or some other satellite image.
Yeah. So here I'll give you. Here's our default location for everybody, which I think you'll enjoy.
That's where they is that oh, that's where they pretend to play football. Gotcha. Okay.
Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna ignore.
Passing over that one.
Why don't you test fit something on that field so they can have something productive come out of that field? Wouldn't that be good?
Dude, when was your last natty? Like 1930? Give me a break.
1939. Come on.
39.
Give me a little credit.
A little credit? Or you want 9 years credit when
9 years
was played in Illinois?
All right, so you're in Austin. You're on Lake Austin.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a very high density site, which is different than what we were doing before. I'm going to change my parameters. I'll do a structured fill. So I fill a whole site with parking. I'm going to go 5 down, 1 up on my parking. And then I'll do like a 24 floor deal. Let's look at it in context. And I could probably go up on my parking. I don't think I'm going to be able to afford this 5 levels below. Sorry, I don't think my development client is going to want 5 down, so maybe we do fewer down. So I'm in the right spot. Let's look in the building itself. I probably don't have vertical circulation to where I want it to be. So what I'll do is I'll add lifts in.
Lifts.
And then I will make it about 200. So that way I get a central core. Now it's starting to look more like a tower. Let's see. I'm going to go a little bit crazy on my dynamic units. Way too many units, but I can make my units thicker dynamically, which is really great for higher density.
Yeah.
And is a change that takes quite a bit of time to do in CAD. I don't need these firewalls. Good on staircases, but they might go down to the travel distance. So what I'm looking at right now is these dead ends. So I need my stair to be maybe a little bit closer to the dead end.
Or add dead end units.
Or I can add dead end units. So I'll bottom that one out, and then we can start basically customizing these units. So I'll go in the configurator, go in the
Customize units.
And then I'll remove some of these studios, click into this studio, and make a nice inset balcony because we're going to be super high up. Back to building. Let's look at that.
You don't want the balconies hanging over?
No, I don't. I actually really hate diving board balconies. When you're north of like 6 levels tall, if you're doing diving board balconies,
customize
you're
units.
doing them because you think that you have to do them. You're not doing them because they're an actual great thing for your residents to enjoy. So
they definitely make me uncomfortable when they go a certain height. I'd rather be kind of shielded into the unit itself versus being on a diving board.
Yeah. And then I'm going to add dead end units, which I have 2 dead ends on this site. I'm going to make them a little bit more compact than I normally would. And then we can go back to building and see how it turned out. Looks pretty good. So James, what I can do is basically build out a kit of parts.
Customize units.
What most of our customers do is they'll have a specific unit that they've already used on several projects before. They already know, how much square footage of carpet versus tile versus whatever else, how many, what's in the bathroom. They already know all the stuff in these units, and they just define the bounding box in TestFit. So that's why this kit of parts tool is pretty great. Yeah, I'm just making some small changes. Now it looks more like a building and less like a shapeless mass. I'm getting more artistry in it, if you will. I'm gonna
Awesome.
add.
So can you add colors to the building?
Yeah, turn colors on.
It's nice.
Put this on like the top level. We can do a little roof deck. Make it a void space. So now we can look over the river.
So how far are you going to take TestFit? Are you gonna actually dive down the rabbit hole on this and try and produce much greater level detail designs? You're getting in your parametric design here. I mean, you're getting so specific that at some point, does it make sense to partner with other generative tools that will infill the details?
Yeah. So specifically about like for our pre-con customers, like they want to know everything that's inside these units, and so you can't just send them this and then they'll be able to price it accurately. They'll give you an order of magnitude. But I don't know if I necessarily want to be in the business of where the human touches the building. Like we're kind of at the scale of like where the building touches the city. And I think that's the kind of scale that we want to stay at for feasibility. If you go down the rabbit hole, then you're going to start, really overdoing the software to the point where it's no longer fun to use and it's more like Revit.
Yeah.
So I
was thinking less of you doing it all yourself and more of you integrating this with the tools.
Yeah. There will be an API at some point for what we do. It's just the product is so much easier to sell to people when it's in this form.
Huh? Yeah, I gotcha. Makes sense.
And if we do APIs, that means that like people can combine services from several other companies to, if you want to do a interior layout, find somebody that's got an API to do that, and then you just send them the outlines and they generate the stuff inside there. Or my preferred method is to use stuff that you've already built that you have a relationship with. You know how that unit goes together. I think that's probably a smarter move, but I'm a technology provider now, so I can't be making those calls. Yeah. So coming down the line, James, we're working on some modular stuff. We're working on, being able to support like retail strip centers. We probably won't have presets to do retail strip centers, but they'll be supported. Just expanding our footprint out of multifamily and into other building types. We're going to stick with commodity. We're going to stick with probably privately funded stuff for now because developers are our customers. So you won't see us dive headfirst into healthcare. It's a hairy one. But we'll do office, we'll do self-storage, we'll do hotels. And that's the immediate roadmap.
Yeah. Cool, man. That's awesome. Fun times, bro.
Thanks for stopping by for the very end.
Absolutely. I love the product. I love what I'm seeing. That was a fun demo.
Have I ever given you a demo? I'm not sure if you've ever gotten one.
No, you've never done like a one-on-one. I've watched all the videos that you post though. So
hey, Clifton, I do have a quick question actually. Somebody asked me if you can import a DWG or RVT file so I can use TestFit for furniture configurations.
No, not at this point in time. Cool idea, but I think you need a more generic solver when you're doing furniture layouts. If anything, I think the human brain is pretty good at doing furniture layouts. The best neural net you can use for furniture layouts is the human brain. Sorry, that's a bit of a joke.
Well, let's replicate it, bro. Come on.
Come on.
He's ready.
All right. That was
Hey,
fun. I've been sitting here for 3.5 hours, so I'm excited to stand up and like
Have a
do
good one.
something else.
Eat some
See you,
lunch.
Yeah, eat some lunch.
All right. Good job, man versus machine. Enjoyed it.
All right. Thanks,
Later.
everybody. Have a good one.